The following is a presentation of iRacing.com motorsport simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Live tonight from the Concord Speedway, LSRTV. Happy to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to our continuing coverage of the Championship Esports Association's 2017 Cars Esport Tour. Live tonight on LSRTV and iRacing Live. A little bit of a different Wednesday night of action with you this evening, but nonetheless, we're happy to get things kicked off in just a moment as we welcome you topside to our LSRTV broadcast booth. Evan Pasoko, James Pike up with you. Going to be joined as well by Austin Coop in just a little bit here. And as always, Cisco Scarlusa downstairs, pushing the buttons and bringing us to you this evening. The one thing that is not going to change tonight, James, is we have super late models and late models on track tonight, as it is all the time. We're just mixing up the format just a little bit. Super late models going to be getting us kicked off here in just a little bit for 100 laps, because we've got a special event coming up later in the evening. Those late models could be part of tonight's Border Wars 250, as we have these Cars Esport Tour guys going up against some Upstate Racing League drivers who are familiar names here on LSRTV as well.
Yeah, really cool promotion that Kyle Barnes and the Championship Esports Association have put together in conjunction with the Upstate Racing League to run that late model race together for 150 laps of fantastic action to close out tonight's evening. But I think we have to stop. We have to talk about the track first, because as awesome as that is, we have to talk about the sort of curveballs and surprises that you see here at Concord. And it starts before you even turn into the gates off Highway 601. You ride through the trees and you're just kind of driving along a state road for a bit, and then you turn in and bam, all of a sudden you've got this facility, which is weird even among short tracks. It's a triangle. It's kind of Pocono shaped, I guess, for lack of a better description. And you've got three turns that end up racing very differently. But at the end of the day, you have a place where names are made and people prove their worth, even in real life. You saw Josh Berry and Harrison Burton win the season opener for the Real Life Cars Tour here in the Circle Track Warehouse 200. They'll be back on the 26th of August for the Race to Remember 250. And you look at some of the names that have raced here this year: Christian Eckes, Cole Rouse, Matt Craig, Brandon Setzer, Zane Smith, Gus Dean, a whole bunch of guys with NASCAR Next and ARCA experience here. So going to be cool, I think, for these guys to hop into the sim and race at a track that's very significant and meaningful to the Cars Tour and what they do in real life, because if any track's a home place for this series, this has got to be the place.
And it is quite the racetrack. It's unlike anything else that we have seen so far this season. And I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we're getting close to the championship. 6 races down, 6 weeks to go still. The bad news is we're halfway there. So we know that the action's going to start to ramp up, but we're starting to run out of time as we really get down to the important parts of this season. So as noted, super late models going to be getting us kicked off tonight instead of the late model stocks. We'll see them a little bit later on. So let's talk about these super late models. And Christian Peterson is the first name that has to come to mind. 4 times in a row, the 23 is parked at a victory lane. Thompson, Bristol, Kentucky, and Martinsville most recently. That has him at the top of the championship standings. To Matt Cucker, who sits behind him in the number 2 position. And considering that stat for Peterson, Cucker being only 18 points back is not all too bad. Jeremy Adams, 49 back. John Ouellette at 61 back at 4th. And Scott Austin, 70 back. Round out your top 5. Very much starting to look like that it's a 2-horse race up at the top of the championship. But Cucker's hanging in there tight. And right now in the warm-up session, Cucker 1, Peterson 2, 69 machine, making sure the 23 is not just going to run away with this thing.
The funny thing about Peterson's lead here in the super late model standings is that had it not been for some bad luck at New Smyrna and the Bowling Ring at Las Vegas Motor Speedway to open the season, he may well have put himself in a position to sweep or sweep rather, all of these races. So Peterson's been very, very good. The crazy thing, though, is that for as good as he's been, Kucker's been right there finishing second or third pretty much every single week behind him. So he's done well, I think, to keep it close. But you're right. There does have to be a point, I think, where that 69 really begins to take over this and start going out and knocking out the wins. He's down 3 to Peterson on the season. I think if he wants a shot to win the title at South Boston come October, that's going to have to change. He'll have to go pick up a few more checkered flags before the season comes to a close.
And oftentimes we talk about how consistency can make a difference in the points, and that's true, and that's valid why Kucker's right up there with Christian Peterson, despite the difference between 4 and 1 wins amongst the two. But only 3 drivers have won a super late model race this season, and those are the names who sit 1, 2, and 3 in the championship. So obviously, there's a little bit of credit that have to be given to those 3 drivers who have been making things happen. All of that being said, we're set to go racing for the first 100 laps on tonight's contest. So let's go trackside and take a look at tonight's LSRTV starting grid for the Border Wars 250. Pole position in this one going to go to the driver of the number 3 machine, John Lady. Going to be able to get the number 1 position in qualifying tonight, that he will be joined on the front row by that 29 machine, Mike Iannarelli. Scott Austin, John Lett going to make up row 2. They will start 3rd and 4th respectively. Robbie Bunden, solid qualifying effort. His 87 is top 5.
Christian Peterson, the points leader, will start from 6th. Jeremy Adams will take the 89 off from 7th on the grid. Then Brad Carpenter will start 8th. Cody McCauley will begin from 9th. And Seth DeMerchant will begin from 10th this evening.
Michael Powell just outside of the top 10. He'll be to the inside of row number 6. He'll start 11th position, joined on that row by P12 starter Kyle Leverall. You got Rory Blum, who will start in the unlucky number 13 starting position tonight. The best driver in warm-up. We were just talking about him. Matt Kucker all the way at the back in 14th position. 100 laps around the Concord Speedway, not a whole lot of time. The next race on the evening in the late models at 150 laps going to be a completely different complexion. More cars, but more laps. So he has to get something going, and to see if he's going to do it, he's got to get that brewing pretty quickly as he runs all the way at the back of the pack. Nonetheless, as always, we're so happy that you're with us tonight on LSRTV at iRacing Live for the Concord Speedway. The pace car going to duck down to the way this time, and a field in the hands of the number 3 machine. Going to bring him at a quarter number 3, looking for the 7th green flag in 2017 American Ethanol. Green flag flies, and we are underway from Concord. Good jump inside and out as Iannarelli challenges for the race seat on the outside. Can't get it to corner 2.
They really begin to sort of line themselves up in quarter number 2, and that's the tricky part of this track. You can push full throttle through there, but if you mess it up and you drive too hard on corner exit, you are almost guaranteed to go into the wall. So drivers have to watch for that as they go throughout this race. Looks like that Iannarelli might have thought better of trying to push since he's already up there, and is just going to try and slide back and get in line, but he's trapped for the moment on the outside. Peterson's already gotten underneath him, and now Ouellette is trying to get underneath the 29 as they go through turn 1.
He kept him honest for the first lap, and after he came to 3, he's been stuck up there outside, and the dogleg is not a place you want to be here at Concord, and he's going to be able to find a spot in line, not until John Ouellette and Cody McCauley picked up a spot on him that lap, so the driver who started outside of row 1 is going to fall to 6th position by the time 3 laps are complete here tonight from Concord. So single filing things out for the first time tonight as the number 3 Machina Line tries to control the pace in this race. Scott Austin, who assumed the number 2 position. He started inside of row 2 3rd, jumped up the inside, though, of Iannarelli quickly on that first lap. He took a look on the 3 a couple of laps ago. Hasn't been able to get back to the back bumper. Different line, though, in quarter 3, trying to do something to get up to him.
And here comes Scott Austin. Now he dove it really deep into that forced corner there, trying to get around the 3 machine, but didn't quite have the drive off of corner exit to stay alongside him, and that might have cost him a car length or 2 and backed him up right into the clutches of Christian Peterson, who is already knocking on the door for the 2nd spot. Meanwhile, Ouellette has cleared, I believe that might be McCauley there back there. Trying to figure out, yes, it was McCauley. So Ouellette up to 4th, McCauley back to 5th, and Lede down pit road. Something up with the 3 machine, perhaps.
He was over the radio, wasn't able to catch what he was talking about, but the 3 has come down pit road, and that gives up the race lead in this thing to Scott Austin in the 05. We'll see how long-lived that is, because now a battle for what was second becomes a battle for the race lead. Christian Peterson on the inside started this race in the 6th position. He'll battle to the inside, short at the start-finish line that time, just with the advantage now, and new race leader, lap number 9, looking for his 5th in a row. Christian Peterson going to get back to the race lead.
Also hearing now that the driver of the number 3 machine left the qualifying tape setup on that car, and it was already beginning to overheat. So a small little mistake, but it's a big one that proves very costly here, because he was setting up for a very nice night, but just didn't set that tape back to race trim. It's a mistake that I think we've all made in the sim, but one that can really, really ding you if you don't take care of it before the race. So Lede back to pit road, and now down a lap, and Peterson out in front of this field.
I have been there and done that, and it is, as you noted, something that we've all probably done at some point. You hate for it to happen, though, in a setting such as this one. He did have a good time, though, and Q had him way up towards the front. So we're going to see a side-by-side battle for second now, as it looks like Peterson tries to stretch out the legs. It's McCauley to the inside of the 05 of Austin. It was the inside that Peterson used to get around him, and same successfully for the 62, as now we see Austin fall to 3rd position, and McCauley up to a race-high P2. So far, so green. Only 13 laps going to be complete to this point, but your race leader started in 6th to get up to 1st, and McCauley started way back in 9th. It's up to 2nd, so a lot of drivers getting to it in the early going.
Making a lot of moves. Austin starting to fall back here as Peterson and McCauley are jumping out and beginning to create a gap, and I think Ouellette's beginning to see that through, I guess, the rear and the front windshield of the 05. He sees those 2 leaders getting smaller out his front windshield and is trying to find a way around Scott Austin. Meanwhile, we'll make a note here of this, that Matt Coker's already up to the 8th position after starting dead last on the grid in 14th, so he's nearly come through half the field in the span of 15 laps, which is good. The problem is that the man he's chasing in the points happens to be leading the race.
Peterson started up inside of the opening half of the field. He was all the way at the back, so that's the disadvantage that the 69 is going to find himself at. There's a good fight going on, about 6 positions in front of him or so, but it's Scott Austin again on the defensive. He's lost a handful of spots since he led this race. After we saw that number 3 Elide come down to the pit lane to get that tape off of the nose of the car, he's now going to be in 4th position by the time he comes by this time, because John Ouellette's able to complete that pass. Next driver waiting in line, the 29 of Mikey Iannarelli, going to go to the bottom as well. This is all good news, though, for the 69 of Matt Coker, because the biggest problem you have when you start deep in a pack is not your ability to pass the cars, but how time-consuming that is. He's at 8th position. He took 7th that time by, but he's 3.3 seconds off for the race lead. So you can get positions, but by the time you work your way up inside of the top 5, you're going to be so far back on time, you need a caution to catch yourself back up. But with that 05 holding all of these battles side by side for a good lap or 2, it's bunched a group of cars up in front of Matt Coker. So he's got the 29, the 32, and the 05 all within striking distance. He gets them, he's in the top 5.
That's the thing. He's got to find a way around Austin, and I think by default, to some degree, DeMerchant and Iannarelli, who are both right there in front of him. I think it's also impressive to see just how much Ouellette has jumped in front of Austin within these laps, as DeMerchant now goes to the inside to try and make the pass. But it's a solid, 10-ish car lengths back to the 05 and to the 32 of DeMerchant already, and he only got around Scott Austin a few laps ago, did Ouellette. So very, very clearly struggling for handling on the 05 as they make contact. DeMerchant got into the side of him there, and looks like there's a pretty significant amount of left front damage on the 05 machine. So wonder if that makes it a little bit easier for Coker to get around him. But contact there, and a night that hasn't started off well for Austin, going south very quickly.
Well, it's a point that me and you were discussing before the race, just how tight of a racetrack this is. The outside of turn 2 at the dogleg is not a place you want to be, and DeMerchant on the inside maybe thought he had him cleared, pushed up to the outside fence, coming off as you would have to get the best exit on the corner, and he's going to get punted. Scott Austin turned on the back straightaway. Caution flag is out.
I'm going back to rewatch that just to see what exactly happened there. Yeah, I have to believe Cucker. I don't know if it was totally intentional that he got into him, but he definitely got into him and sent him around. But they took different lanes. I was watching out the rear window of Austin's car, and I saw that Cucker changed his line on corner entry a little bit and backed it up and arced it late to try and get underneath the 05 going into turn 2. And I think that's where all of this started. You're running two different lanes, and they just kind of converged at that point on corner exit there, and around went Austin and inside retaining wall once they made contact.
Yeah, the 05 was right up against the fence, so he made a high entry, which would allow him to exit the corner low. Meanwhile, the 69 really didn't have that arc into the corner, entered from about the middle of the racetrack. His car would obviously then have to exit high to be able to keep the speed, and it was an unfortunate meeting of the minds. That's not the objective for Matt Cucker. He wants to keep that race car clean if he is to successfully get through the field, and because of being the cause of the caution, that will get him an end of the longest line penalty. So counterproductive and obviously not Cucker's intentions.
Certainly did not want to have to go back and redo everything that he's done. He'll go back to 12th on this restart and was up to about 6th and 5th, I think, when the yellow came out. So he'll have to redo what he's done, and then I think hope for another caution, because the way Peterson and Colley and Ouellette were running, they were clear by about 3 to 4 seconds ahead of where Cucker was, and that's hard to make up over the span of 100 laps under the green flag here at Concord, because they go by so quickly. You're only going to run, 15, 16-second laps here, so he might get time, but I think he'll still need help to be able to get up to the front of the field and really challenge Peterson and McCauley and Ouellette for the win.
As we pace for the first time tonight, do want to remind you that coverage of tonight's Cars eSport Tour is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Whether you spend your time on the sim behind the wheel, on the pit box, or from the spotter stand, JRT is your go-to software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics. If you want just a basic download, that's fine, but I'd recommend getting the pro version today. You can choose either or and elevate your sim racing experience at Joel-Real-Timing.com, official timing software of LSRTV. So we hit the reset button, the caution clock, if you will, of 40 laps uncontested would bring it a caution flag, will reset, and we will see what McCauley can do alongside 23. He was holding him honest on the longer ends of that first run. He'll be alongside him coming at it quarter number 3. 29 laps complete so far from Concord, and we go back underway. Good jump by the 23. Try to make it single file, but the time he gets to quarter 1, 62 pinches, side by side, down the back for P1.
Ooh, the 62 got a little bit loose on corner exit there. Tried to make it out of the way and then cuts in front of Ouellette and then turns right into the merchant hard into the outside retaining wall. One car went over and around. I think it was the 32 of DeMerchant, the 29 of Iannarelli, and Michael Powell also caught up in our second yellow of the evening, but they just ran out of room. DeMerchant tried to make a move there, tried to get in front of everybody, and just ran out of spaces to make things happen. Ouellette and looks like one car there. McCauley tried to get together, and I think all tried to converge on the same spot. And when that happens here, you've got cars that'll go around into the wall very quickly.
And at first I had thought that it was a 23, it had gotten into the 62, but a second look, looks like McCauley just got really loose trying to keep that car pinched between the 23 on the outside fence, got loose and had decided, kind of like what you would see at a super speedway, instead of getting stuck at the outside, back it off, drop down in line, and try to kind of filter his way in. But I think he checked it up a little bit too much, and he made that move to the inside. It was a little bit of a gutsy move to throw it on the bottom, but John Ouellette was there, battling side by side with DeMerchant for third, and he tagged the 62, and unfortunately with the 62 snap back up, set DeMerchant's the one who ended up on his lid. That's a toe to pit road, and that's very costly.
I would say that DeMerchant's chances to win this race probably went with that yellow, but again, it wasn't really much of his doing. I think it kind of just goes back to McCauley trying to save his position on track and Ouellette already being to the inside when he made that move, and just a bit of a racing incident that caught out a few very talented drivers. Iannarelli had been running top 5 for a good chunk of this race up to this point. DeMerchant had come up through the field very nicely, started 10th and restarted 4th there, so we knew he had some speed, and I don't think too many of them are going to get the chance to show it for the rest of the night. Their car is going to be too beat up to at least be effective, if not come back out on track at all.
Yeah, 3 drivers right now being scored off of the lead lap. All of them are still in this race, but they're on the pit lane, and by the time they get those cars fixed up, you got to think that they're going to be even furthermore laps down. Right now, DeMerchant has already lost 3 laps since the contact they had at a quarter number 4 that led to that caution flag. So a little bit of an interesting start to this race as we pace at lap number 35 of 100 on the 9. I think we're definitely seeing that little bit of a sense of urgency come into play here in this race. And in all honesty, Peterson was up front. He looks like the best car to this point. And I think that the one driver who would have been able to challenge him was McCauley. McCauley going to get back out onto the racetrack. He does have damage, but I think he may have been able to maintain his lead lap status. So as we welcome the 3rd member of our broadcast crew, topside Austin Coop jumping in with us. That is a critical thing, Coop, for him to be able to keep on the lead lap, not lose that lap.
And I've been watching these guys while I've been driving home. Wasn't able to obviously be able to be in the booth at the time, but these guys, I mean, each lap means a whole lot as the pace car's coming down. I mean, this course is so short that by the time you blink, really, a lap's gone by, and that's a lot of shots gone.
The 23 going to be in control of another restart, and not even close. Peterson gone to quarter number 1. It's 2 car lengths back to the 89. Jeremy Adams. Battle's going to be for 3rd out the back end. Here comes the 31 at Carpenter to the inside. Side by side, they'll go for 3rd to corner 3. A little bit of contact with the 7, and that'll cost him 2 spots.
Slid it right up the racetrack when they made contact, and Carpenter and Robbie Bundon in the 87 with a really strong run, one of his best of the season so far up here in the 4th spot, but they just got Liverall loose and had to chase it up the hill. Thankfully didn't wreck the machine, but definitely lost a few spots, and will try and gather it back up. But I think they learned from that little last yellow right there that you don't try and go too wide all that often into turn 2 or 3 here right off a restart. These guys settle down really, really quickly to try and make something happen, and now it's on Jeremy Adams to try and chase down Christian Peterson for the race lead.
And as you saw in that restart, came at lap number 36, so there will not be a competition caution in this race. Again, as previously noted, if there are 40 laps of uncontested green flag action, competition caution would come out, but that does not happen in the closing 25 laps of contest. 40 laps off of the restart would be 24 laps to go, so that will not be a factor in this race. I'm sure Peterson would prefer for the next 59 laps to go green to the end of this thing. Now, Jeremy Adams isn't letting him get away. In fact, a better lap time last time by for the driver who runs in 2nd. Brought that down just within 0.5 of a second in a battle for the race lead, but the top 2 far out in front, a 3rd on back.
Yeah, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, they're still up there, and then Leveralt got that spot from the number 87, and he's actually come back quite a bit. Robbie Bundon was 4th, starting that on that restart, and now he's lost quite a bit, and looks like we might actually have a wreck on the front straightaway. Leveralt's actually being caught by the driver behind him, Matt Cucker as well, so Leveralt gets a little bit high in that corner, and Cucker's going to get really close to him. I'd say only a couple laps to go before Leveralt gets caught up by him and company as well, and it looked like Michael Powell was kind of in a little bit of an issue there on the front straightaway.
Yeah, you saw his number 2 very slow. He was involved in what technically would be a single car accident. He started to spin on his own out of the corner and just nicks at the Merchant. The 32 really wasn't affected by it at all. Powell did come to a stop. He got it back going. Obviously heavy damage, and for the fact that he is 14th in 14 cars and 7 laps down, doesn't hurt his cause. But the racetrack stays green. Your race leaders were able to navigate by that one. Thankfully, that 2 was able to get it righted before Peterson came on by, and there was no issue. But update as we try to see following through the field where Matt Cucker runs. He is up to a race high P5 and number 69, and in fact battling for 4th with the 7.
Underneath him, trying to get the 7 up into that top groove, which we know doesn't have a lot of grip already. Did a nice job of it that last time through turn 1. Leveralt will still stay there on the outside, going to try and pinch the 69. Gets a decent run off the corner, but I can't imagine he's going to be able to keep this up for too long, especially knowing that you've got John Ouellette right there behind him ready to take advantage. He may well get freight trained here if he's not careful.
In the 05, trying to get into the picture here just a little bit off for the back end. Scott Austin trying to get his lap back so he can get back into these battles for position. But in front of him, that battle continues on. The 7 not giving up, but the inside is no doubt the place to be. I think he's got it this time in turn number 3, and yes, he will. So Matt Cucker now takes sole possession of the number 4 position on track. But I'll tell you what, Leveralt did a pretty good job of holding him honest on that outside of the racetrack. The 7's concern now has to be with the fact that because that battle went on for so long, you got a couple of guys grouping up behind him, and Ouellette is right there.
Yeah, and that 7's had a rough season this season, you know, having a few DNFs already this season. To be in the top 5 is really good, and that top groove is starting to come in. You can definitely see with how the battle with Cucker, you can see that now they're learning about similar lines, and now Cucker's been able to get away. So definitely seeing that the 7 right there, losing a little bit of speed here. The setup doesn't look like it's as good as in tune as those other guys around him, but when you go to Concord, you can kind of be able to throw those cars in there and make them work a different way. See the way the lines are going and the way the track is starting to develop as this race goes about halfway.
And when we told you that this first race was a short one, we weren't kidding you. 53 laps now into the works, so we'll take this opportunity to take a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. And in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, and many more. Working lap 55, Christian Peterson is your race leader. He's led the most laps so far tonight, looking for a 5th in a row. He's out now by a 2nd to the 89 of Jeremy Adams, who runs in P2. About equidistance between 2 and 3 as it is between 1 and 2. Brad Carpenter is second off of the number 2 machine as that 31 rides in the 3rd position. Biggest mover so far, Matt Cucker, as we noted, he runs in 4th position. That has him 3.8 seconds out of the race lead, and Kyle Leveralt just inside of the top 5 trying to hang on. Looks like John Ouellette going to take that spot from him as they battle.
Well, you thought he was, but not quite. So Leveralt still 5th at the line, then Ouellette 6th. It is, I believe, Cody McCauley who is in the 7th position as they run. Then Mike Iannarelli runs 8th. John Leday currently in the 9th position, and then Robbie Bunden holding down the 10th and final spot in the top 10.
Rory Blum, last car on the lead lap, may not be there for long. Scott Austin 1 lap down, still on the track, still racing hard. Then you've got Seth the Merchant in the 13th place position. He's still out there on the track running around and maybe hoping that some of these guys have issues so that he can get back in the top 10 to earn some of that prize point. And you got Michael Powell, who is 9 laps down in 14th.
So that's a look top to bottom at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can visit iRacing.com and sign up today. If you're thinking about it, make sure to go to iRacing.com/World of Outlaws. Still a couple of exclusive promo codes that you could use for the rest of this 2017 calendar year. If you want to get a 3-month iRacing membership, you can do that for less than $5. Or if you're ready to go all in, you can get a 1-year subscription for over 50% off the sticker price. Again, that's valid on new iRacing memberships only. You can get more information on those at iRacing.com/World of Outlaws. Again, kind of to that point that Koopa just noted, James, some of these guys that have had problems tonight just outside of the top 10, maybe trying to hang tough to get in to those cash paying positions, top 10, if you want to walk away with something from this race.
But it's solid money that you get to walk away from with in this race, you know. Going to be able to walk away with 20 bucks if you win this race, and you're going to walk away even money if you come out on the podium here. So not too shabby if you can get it done tonight, and always a fun little incentive here. And then, you know, we've also got that bounty going as well for the Inseri and the 6-man Inc. drivers. So a whole lot of money in play here to win. Just kind of ups the ante here a little bit in the Cars eSport Tour.
Yeah, talking about Christian Peterson's streak for those who have not been with us for the last 4 weeks. Christian Peterson has been putting on a show at a super lates as he is at the moment, and it's looking like he's en route to a 5th consecutive as he takes 35 laps to go this time by. But if somebody is able to defeat all the drivers on his team in general, but as they have all of the wins so far to this point, but it's really been Christian Peterson, the name that's been highlighted. The bounty on those guys $60 added bonus on top of the $20 that you would get for winning the race. That's not a bad deal, so expect if we have to double these guys back up late into this race that things will be wild on the restarts. And again, Peterson at the point now, though, where he's almost 2 seconds out in front of Adams' Coop, where he really doesn't have to force the issue. He can take his time, get it around lap traffic, some of the slower cars, and can really make sure that he doesn't have to put himself in any sort of precarious position where the drivers behind him would then have to force the issue trying to get by, and that's how you end up in trouble.
Yeah, 30 laps is not going to take that much time for these guys to get around this this small little Concord Speedway, just because the fact that they're only running about 17-second laps. I mean, it looks big when you're looking at it from ways away, but I mean, Christian Peterson is right under 17 seconds per lap, and if Peterson continues to just set the pace, set the way, and these guys keep it clean, which the way they drive, they're getting pretty spread out, but once one guy catches another, they may want to let him by that later on in the race. So, and do have a few drivers having mishandling cars, but these guys at the front definitely just kind of taking it easy until they get to that point where they need to. Peterson can be easy until Adams gets to him, and Adams may think to himself, well, to save the car in case a caution comes out, that way actually has something for him if that happens.
And as this race winds down, do have to remind you that, yeah, typically super late models end this race out as we take a look at the 7 of Kyle Everalt in a battle once again. And on the losing end of one is the 62, and Cody McCauley will pick up a spot on him. They will exchange 6th and 7th positions on the racetrack. But super late models not the end of our coverage here tonight. We've got the late models coming up as our second event, and it is a special event in tonight's Border Wars 250. Many of you are familiar with the Upstate Racing League that we see here on LSRTV over the fall and winter months. They are going to be on track going head-to-head with the drivers of the Cars eSport Tour, a fantastic event that's being put on with the Upstate Racing guys, and a big shout-out to the Championship Esports Association for making it happen. That is tonight's main event. It's 150 laps. It's right here on LSRTV following the checkers in this super late model feature. So although typically super lates end out the night, don't go anywhere. Once we see what happens in this race, there is plenty more to come as the night goes on. Just taking a look at that battle amongst the 7 and the 3. Kyle Everalt going to lose another spot. John Lede going to be able to get a spot on him. So Lede picks up that position. #1 qualifier, trying to salvage something out of this. And Everalt looked pretty good early on in this race. Started 12th, was up front, not really having a good run though this time around.
He lost the spot to McCauley a few laps ago when he got loose coming out of turn 3 and smacked the wall with the right front of that 7 machine, and then did the same thing a few laps later to give the 3 car the next spot ahead of him. So LeBron, I think, struggling with the handling on that car now, and as we've worn these tires down, a reminder that you don't get to change tires here in the Cars eSport Tour from the beginning of the race, so what you have is what you got. But it looks like as the tires have gone away on that 7 machine, he's just gotten tighter and tighter on corner exit, and it's just really struggling to get that thing to go out of the corners the way he would like it to.
And taking a look at lap times for Christian Peterson, he may be in a position to catch up to Kyle Everalt by the time this race is done. Again, inside of 25 laps to go in the first race on tonight's Border War 250. Could see a battle shake up amongst the 62 of McCauley and that 3 of John Lade. Lade just made the position up on Everalt a couple of laps ago, as noted, and it looks like they're closing in on a battle for 6th position, which sits at 11 seconds off of the top spot, but still just as valid as a battle for anywhere else on the racetrack. No difference in money between 6th and 7th position. Points, though, what those guys are going to be shooting for.
Yeah, and as James was talking about, you can definitely see the rubber really getting on this track, and as that goes, these setups start to really fall off. Not just the tires, but the way you set up these cars. You don't get to run 80 laps by yourself typically, let alone with 14 other drivers out there on the track with you. So you never really know how these conditions are going to be when you've got a long run setup, and you can see that McCauley is definitely struggling a little bit out of each corner. I'm seeing him slide really high out of the corner, and he's got the 3 of Lede right behind him, and he might make a move here if he's not careful. Then the guys in front of him are also doing battle. I know it looks like Scott Austin's on the inside of looks like Alette, and that's not for position, but that might open the door for these guys here. But they're doing battle right there, bumper to bumper. Look at the 3 car right there, giving McCauley a little acknowledgement that he's there.
Recalling, you can see the right rear damage on that car from being involved in an incident earlier. The 3 Elade hasn't had as clean as the night either, but maybe in a little bit of a better spot. Looks to the inside, didn't force the issue. We saw a lot of drivers cheating that yellow line down in corner 1 earlier tonight in the practice session, so he could have forced it if he wanted to, thought better of it. 16 laps to go as of this time by. The less laps, though, the less patient he will be.
Loving watching the way that 3 car is changing up its lane as he goes through the corners. I saw last time around he tried to use the apron to get down into turn 1 and get some speed off the corner. This time he ran a little bit higher, but John Lede not afraid to try and search on this racetrack to find a way around the 62 in the closing laps. But they've got to work around John Lede first.
Tight squeeze with a 2. Thought they were going to go 3 wide as we saw Powell up at the outermost lane, and that hurt John Lade just in a bad spot there as he was going to make up a move on Ouellette. Ouellette got tight up with that 2 machine, and the 3 again making the smart decision to back it off. Could have forced the issue twice. Better than having a junked race car. I'm sure he'd like the positions. Still has some time to get after it. So now not only does he have to get around that 81 of Ouellette just to get back to the 62, but he's running out of lap times, and Ouellette not going to be an easy customer either, who's trying to hang on to that P6 running position as they go right now. So what was a 2-car battle, now basically a 3-way fight for 5th position overall. McCauley, though, going to use the 81 to his advantage the longer the guys behind him fight. The further out he can get, side by side we go. Caution with 11 laps to go, and that's going to change everything late in this one as we have problems, looks like down in turn number 2 with Kyle Everalt.
Yeah, actually, looking at the wreck here happen, looks like the 2 actually just came really far down the track on the front straightaway. Unsure if he got tight or loose or something, but it had plenty of room up the track, and Leveralt was giving plenty of room as well. So looked like the 2 just started turning left on the front straightaway and got in the left rear and started turning Leveralt right into the outside wall.
Leveralt not happy about that one. It just looked like that 2 just started to kind of sneak down the hill just the slightest bit, and once they got hooked together, James, neither of those cars could turn into the quarter, and the 7 gets the short end of the stick.
Ran out of racing room, I think is the best way to put it. They just, 2, I don't know if he clipped it a little bit, but definitely came off the wall and down into Leveralt a bit, and as they were getting into turn 1, they just ran out of space and tangled up with one another, and definitely not going to be a fun ending to the super late model portion of the evening for Kyle Leveralt. But if you're Matt Cugger, you've been waiting for this yellow all night. Here's your chance to get a win and maybe get around Christian Peterson.
As noted, Peterson, winner from Thompson, Bristol, Kentucky, and Martinsville, and hopes not to fall fate to the Truex curse late in this one with a caution flag coming out with 11 laps to go. That 4-second advantage that he had over P2 is now completely gone. So he's going to have Jeremy Adams lined up alongside him for the restart. But I think to that point that Pike just made, most importantly, Matt Cugger started from the back. Chases him. He's second in the championship behind the 23. The 69 made his way halfway through the field, was the cause of a caution, got dropped all the way back. Now this caution is going to line him right up to the back bumper of the 23 with about 5 to go.
Yeah, he's got to have a really good restart here, and the 23 has typically always done really well in restarts, really done well. He's been in this position more than once, so I'd say that he's definitely experienced in this position. You know, he's a champion in this series. He's defending and doing a good job of defending it right at the moment. So I'd say if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be the 23. However, Cugger has made it up for the field quite impressively. And can't forget about Jeremy Adams, too. I mean, he's been there, did start to fall off, but you got to think if the 89 knew if he pushed his tires and pushed his car a little too much during that run, he wouldn't have a shot in case an opportunity like this came up. So, got a lap or 2 to go. Yeah, it looks like they've got the pace car's lights off, so 1 to go, and this will be the final restart of the night here.
Going to come with 5 laps to go, and again, $20 payout every single week for the race winner. But if it is not Christian Peterson or one of his teammates that gets the win, It'll be $20 plus a $60 bounty. It's going to get fun with 5 laps to go tonight from the Concord Speedway. Let's see if this one has a wild finish in store. Peterson going to be in control. He needs a good jump. Green flag flies. We go back underway. Cucker is right on the bumper. Battle going to be for second to 69. Can't quite get around it. Jeremy Adams quite yet.
Jeremy Adams spun the tires on the restart, and then Cooker spun the tires coming out of turn 1, so they both stacked it up there. Meanwhile, that's given a chance for the 62 to get underneath the 69 potentially as they go into the corner 3 wide. Somehow, they managed to keep it all in one piece, but for how long? This can't last. They've got to get back down to 2 cars here at some point, or they're going to wreck. That's how narrow Concord is. Looks like they're going to do that, though, as McCauley backs out of it, but Cooker and Adams still side by side down the front straightaway.
McCauley was using that unexistent third lane down by the yellow line. He'll drop behind the battle for second. That continues with Cucker on the inside and Adams on the outside. But through all of this, 2 laps to go. Peterson checking out.
Yeah, well, he's loving this behind him. The 2 teammates behind him still doing battle, Adams and Cucker. And I'm not sure which one's going to win because that bottom line is definitely almost completely gone. They're going to have 1 lap to go. And don't forget about Cody McCauley. He's going to make it interesting. But Peterson, it's his show at this point.
He takes the white flag. We're going to race this one out to the checker under green. At least 3 drivers going to have a shot at the battle for second. That one going to be a 2.5 behind Christian Peterson, who for the 5th time in a row is going to be your super late model feature winner. Checkered flag. He gets the job done from Concord as they battle for second behind. Jeremy Adams hangs on a wild 5 to go restart. Gives Matt Cucker a P3. But Cody McCauley does pick up 1 off for the restart to come home in 4th, and still nobody has anything for that 23 team.
I think, as impressive as Peterson's run was to win this race, I think we have to talk about Adams making the outside work really for the first time all night there in the closing stages. We saw how the rubber came in. You know, Austin mentioned it a little bit, maybe 15, 20 laps ago, and that really played into Adams' advantage on that final restart. He was able to keep the car wound up because he actually had some grip to work with at the very end of this race, and managed to stay out in front of Matt Cucker. And boy, what kind of implications is that going to have on the championship? Because there are a few points there that Cooker, I know he wanted to try and keep that gap to Peterson down at a minimum, but Adams gets in the way, steals some points, and Peterson gets just that little bit extra margin in the standings over the 69 machine.
And that kind of ties right into the conversation we had earlier tonight, that Peterson has been getting the wins and Cucker's been able to stay within what was into tonight, 18 points because of the consistent finishes. Sooner or later, though, those small point increments are going to add up. And wow, with 7 races down now in the super late model calendar, looking with 5 to go after tonight, you cannot afford to continue to lose ground. We'll chat with the top finishers in just a moment. And first, let's take a quick opportunity to take a look at top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results for tonight's super late model feature from the Concord Speedway. Christian Peterson is your winner for the 5th consecutive week, with Jeremy Adams behind him second, and Matt Cucker all the way from the back of the field. Your biggest mover tonight picked up 11 spots. That was good enough for 3rd come the end of this thing. Cody McCauley comes home 4th, and inside of the top 5 is John Ouellette.
The 3 of Jean Ledet rebounded after running with the qualifying tape at the very beginning of this race after starting on pole. Comes away with a solid finish in P6. 7th went to the 31 of Brad Carpenter. Mike Iannarelli got caught up in that really big wreck around lap 30 in this race. Finishes last car in the lead lap in 8th. First car off the lead lap. 1 lap down was the 05 of Scott Austin, who was the reason for our first yellow, and then Kyle Leverant, after being caught up in a yellow at the end of this race, comes home in 10th.
Robbie Abundant, that 87 car, comes home 1 lap down in 11th, and Seth the Merchant, Rory Blum, and Michael Powell finished multiple laps down. They ended their nights early, 12th, 13th, and 14th.
To look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results, we go trackside, where what seems to be a regular occurrence here. Your super late model winner tonight for the Concord Speedway is the driver of the number 23 machine, Christian Peterson. Christian, congratulations on the win. 5th consecutive in these cars, and you guys had a fantastic showing just a couple of weeks ago at Martinsville, getting both of those things. You're hot, and that restart there, I know, had to get you sweating with 11 laps to go. It looked like you were all set and clear by by 4 seconds. Even with that one last opportunity, nobody was able to get up to you. The car just too good tonight. Talk about it.
Yeah, just got to thank Jeremy for the setup, and I just did a couple tweaks, but I know he was playing the caution at the end. I think it just came a little late for him, and because I was just planning on trying to drive away from them and for the not have a caution. And yeah, I mean, I was sweating a little bit, but once we took the green, I saw Jeremy spun his tires a little bit. I started in third gear. He started in second gear, I think it was. So I got a little better jump, and I knew the outside would be better. So if I could just get clear, I'd be all right. And it was. So they raced behind me, and I got a big gap, and the car was good.
You guys continue to chug along in these super late models, and you guys aren't having a bad affair either in the late model stocks that are going to be coming up in just a little bit, but some work needs to be done on that end of things, though. But for you guys, into tonight, an 18-point advantage in the super late model championship, so you're doing quite literally everything you can, and that is by parking this car in victory lane week in a week out. But Cucker consistently finishing just behind you inside of the top 3, keeping you honest. I guess at some point you have to think that just based on how these races work out, we saw Seth the Merchant be the unfortunate guy this week to just be caught out and ended up on his lid due to an accident that happened just behind you. You have to think at some point something bad's going to happen to you, and you got to work on getting a point lead going into these final 5 weeks in case that happens. With him finishing so close behind you consistently, does that get at all frustrating, or because you're getting the checkered flags, none of that really matters?
I mean, it does matter, definitely. You know, I mean, I'd like to be leading it, you know, by 100 points, but no, the competition's good, and Cucker's doing what he needs to do to stay right as close as he can to me. I mean, my luck and you know, streak, it will come to an end eventually, knock on wood, but we're going to try to keep it going to the end of the season, keep that bounty up there. Like I said, the Macaulay and John and Mike, they stepped it up this week. I know they had something happen there on one of the restarts there around lap 30 or something, but they were quick too, so it looks like they're going to be strong for the rest of the season and should be good. But I wouldn't say it's frustrating. No, it's more I just got to stay on my game.
So we go into the second race of the night now, as opposed to the way it typically is, where you get your late model out on track before the super late model action complete first. Does that change any sort of information that you can get going into the second race? The fact that instead of kind of stepping up to the super lates, we're stepping down to the late model stocks, and that race is going to be longer as well, and there's going to be a lot more cars in the Border Wars race. So what are you expecting from that?
I'm expecting to be good. I mean, fixed setup, so that should be interesting. This, like I said, I don't think I said it actually before, but this wasn't really one of my best tracks. I know last season I managed to finish second behind Josh Berry, but I really didn't feel like I was that great. So it felt good to get the win. And we're going to try to do the same thing in the next one. I know it's going to be a little tougher, but we got the no tire rule on our side here. So the eSport guys over here should pull through.
We'll let you take off. Before we do, anybody you want to say hi to?
Just everybody out watching, whoever's watching. I know it was a pretty good show tonight. Good green flag race in there. And just got to thanks to Kyle and you guys for putting on the show.
Well, as always, thanks for lending us a couple of minutes after the race. It seems to be a regular occurrence here, and for your sake, the best of luck, and hopefully, maybe as it was 2 weeks ago, we'll have another opportunity to chat with you in a little bit. Until then, though, congratulations on this one, and good luck in the next.
All right, thanks, guys.
That is your race winner in the Super Late Models. Behind him, Jeremy Adams had a great fight for the number 2 spot. Thought Matt Cucker was going to be able to get it. Not the case. The 89 hangs on to get home in second position. Trackside with the driver who came home P2 tonight is Austin Koo.
Yeah, here with Jeremy Adams in the number 89 machine. Basically, so we got him here. Jeremy Adams here with Austin, or me, Austin Coop. We talked about how you had made it really well on the outside. on that restart, and we were really surprised that you were able to pull through. What really happened with you and your team to be able to make it work on that outside line?
I don't know, that the bottom was just wore out. It'd been getting wore out. CP had already moved up. I just hadn't moved up in 3 and 4, but it was all right out there. I think I just had him pinned down where he couldn't really get up off the corner like he needed to.
Now, talk about that restart in particular. You were about 2.5 seconds back when that caution flag did happen to come out. And did you think you would have a chance at getting a crack at him, maybe getting out his rear quarter panel, maybe before the wheel spin? But go through us what happened right there at the beginning of that one.
Yeah, last time I'd start in third, and he pulled me pretty bad, so I decided to start in second, and I guess I just got too much in the throttle and spun the tires. But I think if I wouldn't have done that, I would have had something for him, because I was actually just kind of sitting back trying to ride, hoping for a caution.
Now, looking at the point standings, you're going to definitely stay in the third. It's kind of a 3-horse run in this one for this race, of course, and then for the standings right now, Peterson, Cucker, and then yourself. You do get a little bit of a gain on Cucker, only by 1 spot, but with only about 5 races left. We talked about this with Christian. Evan asked the question, going forward with these races, you can't really have any mistakes. Is there anything that you plan to do with these races coming up to maybe solidify an equal or better finish?
Well, if you're talking about the points really don't mean that much. I just kind of take one race at a time. I've honestly not even looked at the points, so that's the first time I'd heard I was in third. So, but I don't know, I've just not had a good year, just been off, and I try to practice more and get going, and see if I can't do better than the rest of the season.
Well, thanks for stopping and checking and talking to us for a little bit. Before we let you go, is there any shout-out sponsors you'd like to give before we let you go?
Yeah, everybody at Team Vince here, 6Man, iAnalyze, GlobalCom, and everybody that helps us. Kyle for putting it on, you guys for broadcasting. Good show.
Well, there you have it. Second place finisher, Jeremy Adams, who drives number 89 machine, will take it down to the next driver. It looks like maybe James Pike is caught up with him. Or we're going to toss it back to Evan, actually.
Yeah, not going to have a chance to talk with Matt Cucker, who was a part of that great battle there you saw for second and third across the start finish line, because he's getting strapped up in a late model stock, because that is the second race on the night coming up for Border Wars. 150 laps due up in tonight's main event, and a congratulations and a tip of the cap at that to Christian Peterson for his 5th consecutive super late model win on the season. But we'll take this opportunity to step aside for one quick moment. Did we come back on track? We're going to have not only the Championship Esports Association drivers on track, but the Upstate Racing League guys going to be joining them as well. It's the Cars eSport Tour Border Wars that is coming up next from Concord Speedway right here on LSRTV. Stay tight.
There are 3 different paths if you want to call yourself a world champion of sim racing. NASCAR, open wheels, or endurance racing. But no matter which one you take, you can guarantee that the journey will always be tough, which few will ever complete. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, the premier road racing series in sim racing, started with a new car taking center stage. Then, it was Martin Kroenke resisting any challenge thrown at him to break the 5-year stranglehold of Gregor Hutu as being world champion. These drivers and teams are not just competing for pride, they're competing for money. And with over $20,000 in prizes for each of the series up for grabs, drivers really do put it all on the line.
The NASCAR Beginner Series powered by iRacing is the premier NASCAR eSport series featuring the cars and tracks from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. The 2016 campaign saw a return to the top of the mountain by Ray Alfalla as a 3-time Oval World Champion. The march to that championship was not easy though, despite the fact that Ray Alfalla took home the most points in series history. It just also happened to be the tightest championship fight we had ever seen. These guys are set for the 2017 campaign.
The Blancpain GT Series hosts the top GT3 endurance teams in sim racing, with groups of 3 or more drivers sharing the wheel. This is a championship you can't win alone, and you need the same determination, passion and drive from your teammates to be successful. They often say that it takes just one mistake to lose a championship, and in team racing, it may not be your mistake that costs you the win. Last season, VRS Coanda SimSport won the championship by a single point. This year, who will step up to the plate?
These are the iRacing eSport World Championships, the pinnacle of sim racing competition. Catch it all season long with live coverage on iRacing.com/live.
And welcome back live to the Concord Speedway for LSRTV's coverage of the Championship Esports Association's Cars eSport Tour on iRacing Live. Super late models got the night kicked off. Those are completed. It's now time for the second part and the main event of tonight's Border War 250, as you have the drivers of the Championship Esports Association now joined on track by some familiar names and faces of the Upstate Racing League as they go head-to-head. No points on the line, guys. This one is for bragging rights only. It's 150 laps, and it is surefire to be an excited race. These guys locked in on a fixed setup. That rule coming from the Upstate side of things. And of course, the no tire rule coming in from the CEA side of things to give each group of drivers a little bit of an advantage here or there to make this thing about as 50-50 as you could get it.
Really, really fun, I think. That's all you can say when you've got not just the power of the Championship Esports Association, but the Upstate Racing League, two of the most powerful leagues, I'd say, here on LSRTV and in the sim. They carry a lot of weight because the drivers in both leagues are well respected, run very, very solidly, both in official races and in their leagues. And when you put two of them together, it just should, I think, give us a very, very impressive show.
And if we haven't noted it already, as it has been for the last couple of weeks, or rather the last couple of years, the Upstate Racing League will be returning to LSRTV coming up later this fall and into the winter as always. And also the Championship Esports Association is going to be keeping us busy now with dates through the 2017 campaign. So if you want a little bit more information on that, make sure to follow us on the social medias. On Twitter, that is at LSRTV. And on Facebook, that's at facebook.com/LSRTV official. You can find a full broadcast schedule online at livesimracing.com. So Christian Peterson comes off of a super late model win. We headed to the late model stocks with so far what this season has been the most competitive series we've seen in this Cars eSport Tour, but names that we haven't been talking about on Wednesday nights here to make a splash. AJ Hamill, Stefan Marinak, just a couple of the names just in the warm-up session here. Two of the top three names from the Upstate Racing League.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see these two leagues mesh with their best and brightest stars. You've got Stefan Marinak, like you said, past champion, and many others, you know, to say. And then this is a fixed setup for those championship esport guys, too. So some of these guys who may not be so good at making those setups for the championship esports, they may actually be able to get a break here and show that they can really drive. It may not be the setup that they've got, because we do, I think in every interview that the 32 says he thanks Jeremy for the setup. So this might be one of those nights that we see somebody come out of the shop not worrying about a setup and being able to really practice a lot and not have to worry about making tweaks or adjustments. I think that's going to be a big part of this one, and expect those Upstate Racing guys to have a big effect on that, because they're used to that. They're used to not having to worry. They're used to practicing a lot and not having to tweak anything as they go.
I may never understand why the Charlotte Motor Speedway is in Concord and the Concord Speedway is in Midland, but nonetheless, some of the on-track unique quirks about this racetrack showed their way in that super late model race earlier, James, with this racetrack being a three-quarter racetrack and how tight it was. We've got a lot more cars on track, which should be a big factor in this one.
I think you combine the extra cars that we have on track and the way that super late model feature ran. We looked at, I think, turn one and the way grooves kind of came in and the way people could race it differently. There were a lot of moves there. You had turn two being a tricky spot and three being a fun spot to pass so you can get a run on somebody. So curious to see how the extra cars will change the way this race plays out. But I guess we're just all watching how that's going to happen here with everybody at home.
And we're getting set to go racing for 150 laps. It's the Border War 250. We're happy that you've stuck around with us from Concord, so let's go trackside it and take a look at our LSRTV starting grid. Justin McDuff going to qualify on pole position for this one. He will be joined by Al Smith Jr. So the Upstate Racing League guys already stretching and showing their muscle. They're going to make up the front row from this one. Then you got the top two of the points from the Cars eSport Tour. Matt Cocker going to start third. Christian Peterson alongside him will roll from fourth on row number 2. Just behind them, Coda McCauley, fast and warm up, fast and Q. He'll start fifth.
James Finn from the CEA and the Cars eSport Tour will start from 6th. AJ Hamill and Alex Orion, 7th and 8th from the Upstate Racing League. Another Cars eSport Tour driver and Jeremy Adams starts 9th, and another Upstate driver, James McIntyre Jr., will begin from 10th.
Kyle Everett starts from the 11th position from CEA. John Gould starting 12th from Upstate. Scott Austin 13th. Robbie Bunden and John Lyday will start in the top 15, 13th, 14th, and 15th positions.
Final times in qualifying, going to go to 16th and 17th position. That is Rory Blum and Michael Powell. 2 other drivers on provisionals going to make up tonight's 19-car grid. 18th is Stefan Baranek, and 19th is Mike Iannarelli. Doesn't matter what kind of shape this racetrack is, it still clocks in at half a mile, which many of these drivers aren't familiar with. It means that tonight's 150-lap contest going to be 75 miles between the green and the checkered flag. We're set to go racing in the Border War 250 on LSRTV and iRacing Live. McDuff and Smith side by side on the front row, going to bring us to it. American Ethanol, green flag flies, off we go, and a good jump from the second row. Here comes Matt Cucker side by side with Smith for P2.
Really good jump from McDuff to get out in front of everybody, and then Cucker, and then Cody McCauley coming from the 5th spot. He'll be 3rd when they come across the stripe, so up 2 spots in 1 lap. Pretty good return there for the 62 machine. Now trying to fight underneath Cucker. Got a nose underneath him, got more than a nose underneath him. Drove straight past him. McCauley with the speed early on in this race. Going to try and hunt down Justin McDuff now for the race lead.
He made a very quick pass from the 5th position at Al Smith Jr. He followed Cucker through and then made that pass look easy on the 69. So the drivers who started 5th and 3rd run 2nd and 3rd at the moment. Al Smith Jr. has fallen to 6th position as he tries to get one back from James Finn at a battle for P5. So McCauley making a quick work at the traffic around him, though. It did allow McDuff to get out to an 8/10 of a second advantage in just the opening 3 laps of this race. That's the gap between 1 and 2.
Yeah, well, these 2 guys are real spread out. They're still 2 by 2. They're back in the back of the pack, still fighting side by side. You're talking about McIntyre Jr. And we've got the 2 at the wall. That's going to be Michael Powell Jr. or Michael Powell on the inside wall. Almost very similar to what happened earlier tonight. And he's going to limp that 2. It's going to have a blown motor, and that's going to be the end of the night for him here on the front straightaway.
A lot of smoke on the inside of the racetrack as he tries to get that car out of the way. He'll have to hug the inside fence. It'll get tight in the dog leg right there. Luckily, the pack seems to thin out just a little bit, and Powell is going to be able to safely return that car to the pit lane. No caution, and we will stay green flag racing. All the action's going on right behind Matt Cucker, who runs into number 3 position exactly where he started. McDuff continuing to pull away into 69. Terrible entry into corner number 3, completely missed the entry. He'll go from 3rd to 6th at about half a second. Wow.
Sticks and maybe 7th here, because here comes the 18 of AJ Hamill underneath the 69. So Cucker sliding back, Leveralt there trying to make a move underneath him as well. I wonder if he's just trying to get back in line, or if there might actually be something wrong with Cucker's machine, because he's dropped like a stone here in the last few laps. But does look like he might have just been waiting for a chance to get down back to the racing groove, so he'll slide back in and try and gather it back up and charge back to the lead from the 8th position.
But whatever the case may be, a tough break for him, because that sent him way back. Lost 5 positions in that exchange. And again, kind of to the point that we noted earlier in his super late model race, the problem with him trying to make up positions from the back was not the speed in the car, it's just the time it takes to do so. He's nearly 6 seconds now off of the number 1 position. James Finn in 4th under attack. Al Smith Jr. trying to get back up to him. Started this race in 2nd. Fell to 6th, which is the lowest he's been tonight. He was able to get one of those spots back, and he is all over the DIYsim.com entry and a battle for that number 4 spot. Peterson just in front of it, about a car length out of reach at the 61 at the moment.
Yeah, these guys are really close together here, and every time they go in the corner, you can see the different approaches. You can see the 61 has an early apex and that has an exit that's not as clean as the 23s, but is able to really get down in the corner a little bit better. You can definitely tell that with the fixed setup, they're going to be running very similar lines as they keep going through the track. But it's you're also seeing that 96 really lock up that left front. That can't happen for that long with the new tire model. These tires start to get a lot hotter as they lock them up like that. So Al Smith Jr. locking up that left front tire just a little bit, getting into turn 3 that last lap. That can start to wear and tear. Remember, they don't get more than the tires they've already got on these machines already, so taking care of those are going to be prime.
and it is a lot longer of a ways to go in this race than there was in that first race. So that's something that the Upstate guys are going to have to deal with, is not having an opportunity to come down and get tires. Now, they do have tire restrictions in their series, but they are limited to 4 tires and 4 tires only. So it is a little bit of a change for them to not have an opportunity to come down and get tires at some point. Typically, they structure their race strategy around coming in and getting tires around the halfway point. So that is where the championship eSport drivers will have an advantage, because the championship eSport drivers then obviously are used to having an open setup to be able to cater to their needs. The fixed setup plays into the hands of the Upstate guys. So a little bit here and a little bit there, but Justin McDuff seems to have it figured out so far. Race high, 2.5 second gap.
Pretty sizable gap here. He's got the length of that second half of the dogleg to turn 3 up over Cody McCauley. Also hearing that Al Smith got into the wall ever so slightly, and you can see the damage there on the right side of that number 96 machine. Going to drop a few spots here now. AJ Hamill will get underneath them on the inside, and Leverall was able to get around him as well. And then it's really those 7 drivers. Then you have to go all the way back to Coker, who slid back to 8th, and really must not be liking the handling on that machine, because he doesn't have the customary speed that we've seen on that 69 machine in the Cars eSport Tour. And a pretty solid battle behind him too. Teammate Jeremy Adams is there, Alex Orions, John Lyday, and Mike Iannarelli, all kind of bunched up with a little group right there. Maybe they'll make something happen here, but that looks like where the best battles on track are going on at the moment.
Yeah, fighting for 14th position side by side with the 87 of Robbie Bundin, under attack by the 24 of Sean Cool, as Cool goes to the inside. Left side tires on the flat, just a little bit in the dog leg, and he will get that position. 87 maybe took a peek back to the outside, not going to be able to get it, so gives Sean Cool +1 to position. Still down 2 on the ninth, though. He's trying to claw his way back up to 12, in which he started. The bigger field obviously going to be a lot more traffic on the racetrack, and that could mean that Justin McDuff is going to have his hands full in just a couple of moments. 23 laps so far in this race complete, and green all the way, meaning that he's only 2 seconds away from catching up to James McIntyre Jr., who is the last driver schooled on the lead lap, 15 seconds off at the top spot. The 20, once he starts to catch up to the back of the pack, is going to have a constant stream of lap traffic that he's going to have to work around, and McCauley started to close the gap in the last couple of laps. That gap now back down within 2 seconds. He's got to manage that gap while not taking too many risks of trying to get around those cars.
Manage that gap, manage those tires is what the 20's got to do when he gets to these lap cars. McIntyre Jr., he's about 4/10 slower than our leaders, so inevitable that he's going to catch these guys, but they will catch him, and then they'll have a small break after Rory Blum, but then they'll get to Stefan Marinak, and that's when the company's really going to happen with Robbie Bundin also. So Justin McDuff coming off of turn number 3 right there, turn number 4 I should say. He's going to be catching these guys fairly soon, and just a couple laps, and typically they'll yield the bottom, although this is a tricky track. It's kind of different where these lap cars could go. A lot of times for short track, you'll go on the outside. We'll just have to see how these lap cars go.
And again, because there's so many cars to the field, it's not like once he catches up to McIntyre, he's going to be getting stragglers. McIntyre is in a battle for position, 17th on track. Rory Blum just in front of him. They're fighting for position as we see McDuff start to close up to the back of them. So battle for position going on in front of the leaders. You have to be concerned that not only are those guys not going to want to just pull over and let the leader go as the 06 does so, but the other concern, I think the main concern, is if you've got guys in front of you fighting, James, you want to make sure that they know you're coming. They could be so caught up in that fight not even see you, and that's how you really get in a sticky situation.
It's a move I think made most famous in the official races on the plate tracks, when you have a train of cars that go along and lead a race and tell the lap cars to go high, as we have one that gets into the outside wall. Rather, Rory Blum got out of it in turn 4 and is now racing the 20, trying to stay on the lead lap, and gave the 20 of Justin McDuff a little bit of damage there. I wonder how that will factor into things later on, but really struggling is the 72 of Rory Blum, now under fire from the 06 of James McIntyre Jr. right in front of the leaders, because here comes Cody McCauley and the rest of the leaders right through this battle.
And McCauley has made up a second on McDuff as that 20 trying to get around those 17th and 18th place drivers. So McCauley can't afford to back it off and take it easy. If he forces the issue just that little bit more, it could pay big dividends for him. I do like the move, though, by McIntyre. He got way out of the way for McDuff. He's going to stay high and let the 62 go low. Gave up a lot of time on the 72 when he did that, but he was able to get back up to Blum and to pass him. So smart driving, courtesy of the driver of the 06 right now. He's the first driver one lap down as your race leaders continue to work up to lap traffic. Next driver on the radar for that would be 16th place, Robbie Bundin, who was in a battle for position of the 25 of Stafford Baranek and a 24 of Sean Cool. Three-way fight for 14th, 15th, and 16th position.
Yeah, these guys in this long snake going about from, looks like a 7th place, or sorry, 8th place on back. These guys have got to either start going or start figuring out their positions, and maybe start to spread themselves out, or really, a lot of these drivers might be actually saving tires too, knowing that a caution is somewhat inevitable with a 19-car field, and gotta believe that these guys are kind of just biding time, because if anyone starts to make a move, there will be one driver to kind of try and take advantage of any sort of opening. As 36 laps in the books coming to the stripe, but gotta believe that this long stretch of cars, once they see that leader behind them, they'll get a fire under their belly and they'll start going.
Just take a look top to bottom as far as battles for position on the lead lap. For a brief moment, I think everybody's single file. Doesn't mean there aren't fights. You've got groups of 4 or 5 cars here and there who can't seem to get away from each other. In fact, at 7, Kyle Leveralt working around lap traffic. That's allowing the 18 of AJ Hamill to close up to his back end just a little bit. The 72 was high on the 7 that time, but at turn 3, he wasn't able to fully extend that car up to the outside of the fence. Had to wait on getting back to the gas, and here comes the 18, who makes a much better and quicker move on that number 72, and a 96 coming into the picture as well in a 3-way fight.
Meanwhile, change for the race lead at the front of the field. McCauley got around McDuff because McDuff overdrove turn 3, and that opened up the inside for the 62 to go grab the point. So McCauley to the race lead here on lap 41.
We saw that 20 machine get out to 2.5 seconds, but had been consistently losing time to McCauley over the last couple of laps. We'll put up a second look at that pass for the race lead. Rather uneventful. I don't think the 20 really had anything for him, and had kind of accepted that fact, dropped back into the number 2 position to try to get things going. So now we'll see just how much the 20 is struggling. Can he stay with McCauley, or is he going to continue to sink? McCauley hasn't checked out on him, but he does have a handful of car lengths to the good, and if Christian Peterson were to be able to get around the 20, then McDuff would really be in a tough position, because then he'd find himself at least more than a second off of the top position. So right now, battle for second is inevitable, it looks like, as Peterson closes it into a car lane.
Yeah, and you got to believe that lap traffic definitely held up the 20 a considerable amount, but it also does start to play into the head of the 20. He did get out to a really, really big lead, and then these guys started to really catch him after a little bit. So maybe squeak those tires off just a little bit too much. He's still a top position right now on lap 45. Still gonna hurt just quite a bit, but right now definitely in a lot of fire, letting the number 62 get away. 23 can't get by him at the moment, but looks like Peterson's going to take a wide entrance, maybe get a real good push off the exit, and that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to get the inside of the number 20 of Justin McDuff and try and complete that pass before the dog leg. 20's not going to have it. He's still going to be in the inside line, and at the dog leg, he's going to get that position, so relegate the 23 to second place.
Well, that ties right into what we were talking about earlier as far as the difference on some of the rules for this race. The fact that you don't have an opportunity to go back and get more tires. McDuff, who is used to having that option, is struggling now as we close it on 50 laps of green flag action for the start of this race. He just doesn't have them in him like the 62 and the 23 did. So that 20 pulled out a gap nice and early, 2.5 seconds. Maybe it was a little bit overzealous with that early race push bike because he's fallen now.
Here's a stat for you. He ran his fastest lap on the 3rd lap of this race and ran a 16 seconds even lap. Last time by, it was 17 seconds and 68/100ths with a race high of 17.4 seconds. So that car's already fallen off a second per lap here just in the first 50 laps. So tires are clearly going on the 20 machine, and you look at Peterson and McCauley and company, and they know how to save their tires because that's what you have to do in the Cars eSport Tour. And I think the longer we go into green, the more it might play into the eSport Tour drivers' hands.
Yeah, the last lap put down by race leader was down in the 16.8s at Peterson 2 laps ago at a 16.8. They're kind of jumping between the high 8s and the low 9s, but McDuff's the last handful of laps are all above the 17s. He's 17.1 the last time by, so you can definitely tell that the drivers 1-2 right now have been able to conserve a little bit more in those tires. We are 1/3 distance. Driver into the fence at a turn number 3. It's the 87. Going to go 1 lap down. Robbie Bunden really trying to get out of McCauley's way, and the only one way to get out of the way is to get into the fence. A little bit harder of a lick than I think he was expecting. Got on the brakes, and that car shot up. Pretty good hit to the right-hand side for the driver in 16th. No issues, though. He keeps going.
Yeah, almost looked like something broke on the 87, or maybe just snapped loose and overcorrected just a little bit too much. But looking at the 62 getting in through traffic, he's starting to navigate his way through some more light traffic. He's going to get around Sean Cool here, got around the 72 Rory Blum for the second time here, and Christian Peterson's actually starting to catch him despite all this light traffic that he's having to get through as well. 72 holding up just a little bit right now, but you can see the difference. 32 or 23, I should say, gets out of turn number 4, and he's going to be getting still a positive amount of time here. He's going to get about a 10th, and you're going to see Sean Cool on his outside. That's the 62 of Cody McCauley. He's got to deal with that, and so he's going to get by him, but he's still losing plenty of time to Christian Peterson, who's just been on an absolute roll in both of these series that we cover. It's quite an astonishing feat, but not one that is easily done.
So now the question is, can Christian Peterson's 23 catch up to Cody McCauley? Just how quick are those two in comparison to each other? We know that they're a little bit better than McDuff, who's been able to maintain 3rd, still over a second back to James Finn. Finn's lap time's much more even with McDuff, so I don't see really the 20 falling down a much more than 3rd, at least in the near future. But can Christian Peterson start to close this thing in? The gap between 1st and 2nd is only half a second, and Peterson with an 8th the last time by, McCauley with an 8 as well. In fact, their lap times only separated by 2 1/1000ths of a second, so right now they are almost dead even on speed. Can McCauley keep the consistency to be able to keep up in Peterson? Peterson picked up though that last time now, closed it in on 4/10.
It's either been even or Peterson's been faster the last few times by. It was 6/10, about 3 to 4 laps to go. Now it's down to 4/10. Now as they come across the stripe one more time, it's down to 2/10. So Peterson's coming. The question is, when does he make his move?
Only half a car length off, maybe thought about the inside. That time to corner 3 doesn't go for it. You think that the 23 would really try to set this one up so he can get to the inside of the racetrack. That has to be the preferred line. A little bit of a different line they take down in quarter 1. 23 a lot higher up the racetrack as the 62 on the bottom, trying to get everything he can out of it, and they maintain about a car length and a half of separation for the moment. I think that Pike was right on it when he mentioned that their coupe, that the 62 can get laps even with Peterson, but he doesn't have the consistency to be as fast as him each lap. Not going to matter though. Caution, flag flies.
I have a feeling that might have been for the 72. It looked like he was slow in the front straightaway, and yeah, it looks like he got into Kyle Leverall out of the corner. Didn't even see him there, and it's been a rough night for Leverall. It could have been a lot worse though for him, and looks like 72 also may have gone into Al Smith Jr. just a little bit, but was slow enough to have that caution flag be waved.
I just don't think he saw him there. That goes back to the point that I noted as a lap car or a leader lapping cars, that your biggest concern is somebody not seeing you, and looked like the 72 was doing exactly what he should have done if they were single file. He was following the line of McIntyre off of the corner. That just didn't work with the 7 tucked up inside of him. Leverall just had gotten to the inside, and the contact does send the number 72 machine around on the front straightaway, and with that, a caution flag will come out for the first time tonight. Almost took us all the way to the halfway point without seeing one, but we do check things up, and for Cody McCauley, that one couldn't have come at a better time because Peterson was fixing to put a move on him for P1.
Really was gaining on him was Peterson, so I don't know if this really changes much of anything for those two, because they're going to be about the same distance that they were right before we got the yellow when we get the restart, basically right on top of one another. But for the likes of James Finn, Kyle Leverall, Mikey Inarelli, that brings everybody back from 3rd, 4th, 5th in back up here towards the front of the field to try and make things happen, and gives a few guys a new lease on life and a chance to get back to the lead.
Christian Peterson going to come down to pit road from the number 2 position. Macaulay electing not to come down pit road. Kyle Leveralt is in from 4th position. And that looks like that may be it for the drivers, at least up inside of the top 6 or 7 or so. But Christian Peterson is going to come down pit road, come into the box to get service. Talking about the added race distance in this one, going to 150 laps. Only thing that they are allowed to get down on pit lane is fuel. So you got to think that if he's coming in now, that at some point everybody would have to come in and get gas to top off to be able to go all the way.
It's close at a track like this, and how fast these guys are at least going around here. And with this caution coming out, these guys up front are maybe hoping, expecting, somewhat formulating a theory that there's going to be another caution out. You know, as the saying goes, caution breeds cautions, but got to think about that. If they can maybe get one more caution and they're saving as much as they can, they could make it to the fuel, and that track position is really important when you start to think about if you're Cody McCauley. You saw that he was getting quickly getting caught up by Christian Peterson being up front, and there's now a big distance between himself and all those drivers that did come down pit road to get fuel. But how much fuel did they get? Not that much, so it's not really going to change the handling of that car. They made just enough fuel to make it to the end of this race.
Yeah, Peterson was in the box for quite some time. It's not the caution that really changes the situation for Macaulay Pike, is the fact that that's 23 did come down pit road and is going to restart way back in 9th now instead of on his tail.
That's the interesting thing, and I think we also have to take into account any of the wedge adjustments that might have been made. Peterson may be accounting for the way that car is changing, at least in terms of the handling over the course of this race, and maybe tweaking a little bit to make sure it runs better here as the tires are worn out. Who knows?
Pace car off and away. We'll see what Macaulay can do with traffic behind him. Finn 2nd, Ianarelli 3rd as they come back to the green flag. Good job by the 62. He'd be able to get out in clean air to quarter number 2. Battle going to be for 2nd. Fit on the outside was about half a foot of getting clear, but Ianarelli going to fight back on the bottom. Side by side for 2nd they go. Great news for the 62. This allows him to pull away.
Yeah, and look at Justin McDuff have a second shot at it. He's in 4th place. He had moved back quite a bit with this new track position. He may be able to get a second shot at it. Still side by side. 5th on back, 6th on back. Now 3 wide. That's not going to work. It's going to spin one driver out. That's the 96. That might create a little bit of chaos right here on the front stretch.
Well, it was a very long accident. Started in the center at quarter 3 and didn't end until they got almost to the start-finish line. But caution flag is out. The 05 making a move to the middle of the racetrack. It wasn't necessarily an option, and got into the left rear of the 96 machine of Val Smith Jr., who really had no opportunity to react to that move. And the 9 gets some pretty significant damage. The 3 got clipped very late in that accident, and John Lade got spun around. He ended up at the outside fence as well, and that's 4 pretty good race cars that pick up a handful of damage that time coming off of quarter 3. And unlike the first stint, that one very short, caution back out.
I think the most interesting thing in all of this is that Christian Peterson, by virtue of coming down pit road, put himself right behind that accident, and it was a pretty hairy view out the front windshield of the 23 machine. Made it through without any damage, but had to navigate that minefield very, very precisely just to make sure that he still had a clean car. But survived, but that's a risk you take, and I think something that we have to note, that if you come down pit road at this point in the race, you put yourself in a position to where if you're in the wrong spot in the field, you end up getting caught in these wrecks, and then your chance to win really goes south.
Peterson, fortunate enough that when he got on the brakes hard there, the drivers behind him on the outside of the racetrack got the memo and checked up, because cars that were running in front of him at the time of caution were collected in that one, and drivers who were behind him also ended up collected in that accident. So he gets away scot-free, and he jumps up to 8th position. So caution in a big wreck in front of you is not what you typically plan on happening when you drop to the back. You would rather it be an uneventful charge to the front of the field, but that accident does give him a handful of spots, gets him right back inside of the top 10, and it'll put him on row 4 for the coming restart.
Yeah, when you saw that inside line start to really bunch up, some of those drivers felt the desperation to try and get through that, and so that's why the likes of Kyle Leveralt were in that accident. Kyle Leveralt probably would have made it through that wreck if he actually didn't get tagged from behind, but Lide, I should say, was not going to make it through that wreck unless he pushed through, so that definitely snapped these guys up, and big wreck off of turn number 4, but that's what we were expecting at Concord with 19 cars, and it did take a long time, but at halfway, that's kind of what does it.
Tonight's coverage of the Cars to eSport Tour Border War 250 is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Whether you spend your time in iRacing behind the wheel, on the pit box, or from the spotter stand, Joel Real Timing is the go-to software for timing and scoring analytics. You can get yourself a basic download or get the pro version today online at www.joel-real-timing.com. Pace car goes back off and away. Macaulay going to get some more restart practice in. He will bring us to the green. Finn Iannarelli once again second, third out of the rear with McDuff and Hamill inside of the top 5. Halfway home from Concord as the 62 jumps out in front again.
Another solid restart for the 62. Finn looks like he's going to make the outside work. Should be able to get the second position over Iannarelli, who will go back to third. Then you've got Justin McDuff and A.J. Hamill racing side by side for fourth. McDuff will get that. So now it'll be Hamill and Matt Coker in the 69 trying to come back up through this field.
And a lot going on around that 69. And Cocker on the outside is able to get in front of Hamill. Hamill going to slide up the racetrack, get in between him and Christian Peterson. Peterson looks to the outside. He'll get there, go side by side for what's going to be 6th position as the 23 with fuel tries to charge. Problems, though, behind them.
Oh, huge wreck for the 87. He goes up and over on the front straightaway, and the 72 involved in another one, and the 87 gets a nice view of what the ground looks like there on the front straightaway. Just got involved off the turn number 3 and just got right into the side, and that looks really similar to Leveralt's accident earlier on in this race.
Yeah, not sure if it was a combination of the 87 thinking that he would be clear of the 72 by that point. The 72 also looked like he was drifting down the hill just a little bit to try to keep it off of the fence, but the 87 up and over on the front straightaway. Unlike Seth the Merchant earlier tonight in our super late model feature, the 87 does come to rest on all 4 tires, so he is going to be able to drive back to the pit lane. And the 72's night is going to be done with that accident. So as we pace once again, let's take this opportunity to take a look at how we run through the halfway point in this race by taking a look at our iRacing midway race break brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. And in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, and more. James Finn is your new race leader to this point as we saw more drivers come down the pit lane. Justin McDuff takes over second, Matt Cocker now third with A.J. Hamill fourth, and Christian Peterson in the number 5 spot.
Jeremy Adams runs in the 6th position at the moment, and then it's Kyle Leveralt who's got that car number 7 in P7. Sean Cool holding it down for the Upstate Racing League in 8th. Al Smith, another Upstater, running in 9th, and John Lide rounds out your top 10 at the moment.
Scott Austin's in the 11th position, that 05 car. Cody McCauley, 12th position from the lead. Mike Iannarelli is in 13th right now with Alex Orions in the 14th position. And then James McIntyre Jr., he's the first car, 1 lap down in 15th.
Also a lap down, Stefan Baranek, who runs in 16th position. Robbie Bundin is made his way to pit road. Not much left at the 87, though. He's still scored 2 laps down, 17th. Rory Blum is out of this race at 18th. And Michael Powell retired quite some time ago. He'll be scored in 19th. That's a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can go to iRacing.com and sign up today for a limited time. If you go to iRacing.com/World of Outlaws, get yourself some exclusive promo codes, either a 3-month subscription for less than $5 or a year membership for over 50% off. Those are valid on new iRacing memberships only at iRacing.com/World of Outlaws. So James Finn going to get an opportunity to fight for the race lead. Green flag flies as he brings us to it. Not a great jump, but good enough to have the nose over the 20 of McDuff. Can't clear him though. Down the short chute to the dog leg, and as they fight to quarter 3, the top 5 under a blanket.
All right there, bunched up, and will finally clear McDuff, but you're right, he didn't get the greatest of restarts, but it looks like it's going to be enough, and he may get a lucky break here because it looks like Cucker's going to go underneath McDuff, and they'll race side by side for second, and that could give Finn a chance just to get out and away a little bit. Meanwhile, further back, a little bit of contact there between Christian Peterson and A.J. Hamill, who's now under fire from the 89 of Jeremy Adams. That, I believe, is for the 5th position. They make contact coming out of turn 1, so hard racing aplenty here at Concord.
18, that left side of that car is getting worn out. He's going to fall to 7th position. Adams and Cool were able to make a move on him as he stepped it up the racetrack, trying to recover from that little bit of a door bang there, courtesy of the 89 machine. So Finn, your race leader. Cocker up to 2nd, and Christian Peterson, who gave up P2 a couple of cautions ago, came down pit road to get fuel, has worked his way back up to 3rd. You got to think at least this juncture, not talking about any sort of tire advantage by pitting later, that his strategy had to have been the better one, because Cody McCauley, who was your race leader 10 laps ago, is back in 11th and desperately trying to get up to the battle for the race lead. To the outside goes Matt Cocker, the 61, protecting the preferred lane down low. Not gonna be enough. New race leader at lap number 90. The 69 of Matt Cocker tries to pull clear to quarter 3.
Doesn't have him clear, but I bet that 69 is preferred whenever that inside is worn, as it is. 91 laps is what all these cars have done. We had about 5 or 6 more cars than the last race, so the rubber has been laid down tenfold in the terms of how many cars are actually on and putting down that rubber. So inside has been used quite a bit, to say the least, and when these guys have really been experienced at just racing that last race, Kunker, Peterson, they were just racing. They know how well that outside line works, so they had about 100 laps of worth of experience there. So as Peterson now goes to the inside off of the crossover on turns number 3, he's going to get that pass, but look behind him. Justin McDuff wants a shot into the P number 3, almost got into James Finn off of turn number 1 as they go into turn 3.
So the 61 held the bottom, got passed up. That time tried the outside and still got passed up. So the 61 under fire. Cocker and Peterson, 2 very quick drivers in the Championship Esports Association. No surprise they have gone 2-1-2. Well, this is not a points race. For the late model stock tour, Matt Cocker is the championship leader in late model stocks, and Christian Peterson is 3rd overall in the points at a 45-point deficit. So these drivers do know what they're doing in these cars. Just to note, 2nd place in the championship between those two, Jeremy Adams, who is running inside of the top 5 at the moment, and only a 2nd off of the battle amongst the 69 and the 23.
I think the battle to watch here might not necessarily be the 69 and the 23. Oh, well, I take that back. Never mind. Here comes Christian Peterson to the inside of Matt Cocker for the race lead, trying to make it happen and get back to the front once again after he almost got caught up in the huge wreck right before Robbie Bundin flipped there some 20 laps ago. Peterson to the inside now. Tries to go into turn 3. Get down in there deep enough. Will he have the 69 clear? Might not matter, because there's one car that's going around in the corner to bring out the yellow flag. It's the 20 of Justin McDuff, who was racing hard there for the 3rd position. I could tell in the rears, but he'll be the reason for this most recent caution. Looks like he got a little bit of help on corner entry from Jeremy Adams.
He was assisted in that one. A little bit of a tap to the back bumper going into the corner right when he gets out of the gas, and that car got really light and it spun sideways onto the racetrack, and just came to a rest shy of the inside fence. Is about as lazy as a spin as you're going to get, and considering we've seen 2 cars so far tonight end up on their lids, I think he'll be somewhat okay with how that went down. He does have to consider, though, might have flat spotted those tires, heated him up, but he's going to be all the way at the back, but it could have been worse. And through all of that, now Jeremy Adams works his way up to that number 4 position. Not going to matter. He is given the cause of the caution. So the 2 drivers who just got together are going to find each other at the back of the pack. And I think that they both have some pretty relative speed for running inside of the top 5. So kind of curious to see how they will work together to get back up to the front of the field from all the way at the tail end. That caution couldn't have come at a worse time for Matt Cucker, because Peterson had the nose on him, but he didn't really pass him. He didn't clear him. At a 69, had a hell of a run in turn 3 to keep that car on the outside, and he brought it even at the start-finish line. Yellow was just a little bit before that, though, so Peterson going to get the number 1 position for the restart, which is huge.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I do have to say that the 69 machine had a really good start on the outside, so I expect that to happen, but Peterson has been so dominant lately in all of the races we've seen him in lately, and being on the inside and just working his way up from where he was when he started back in the pack, getting that fuel, making sure he can get it to the end of this race. Definitely in probably the position he needs to be, of course, P1, to try and hold off his teammate. Still got about 50 laps to go, so a little bit longer by half of what we had in the last race. Could pay off for certain drivers if they have saved their stuff here in the late goings of this race. Something to pay attention to as this race goes on.
Past the 2/3 distance marker, restart going to come inside of the final 50 laps in tonight's Border War 250, a joint exercise, if you will, amongst the drivers of the Championship Esports Association's Cars eSport Tour and the drivers of the Upstate Racing League. So far, so good. You've got 2 CEA regulars on the front row looking to carry their championship battle into tonight's special event. Green flag flies, the 23 gets going. How big of a benefit will that number 1 spot on the restart be for him? He will clear Matt Cocker at a corner number 1. Caution going to come right back out.
They wrecked almost as soon as they got to turn 1. John Lyday was part of it. I couldn't tell who the other one was involved in that. I believe it might have been Mikey Anarelli in that 29 machine as we pulled the replay up for you. They all went down into turn 1, and looks like everybody just kind of checked up. And yes, Lyday checked up a little bit earlier than Anarelli expected, and Anarelli just got right into the back of him and spun Lyday a little bit, and then ended up spinning himself around as a result of that. So everybody just kind of stacked it up in turn 1. Nothing too complicated, but it brings out the yellow flag once again.
And almost surprised that we don't see more accidents like that on these restarts, where everybody gets so antsy, they're all over each other to the corner. You get somebody who checks up, maybe somebody in front of them getting a little bit out of shape, and that message can only be passed down so many times, like the game of telephone, until somebody doesn't quite get the gist of it and gets into the back of him. And unfortunately, 2 drivers get tagged in that one. Caution flying going to come right back out. And I think, again, another terrible time caution for Matt Cocker. Peterson had cleared him. My biggest concern for the 69 off for the restart coupe would have been that maybe the driver restarting in 3rd, Sean Cool, would have been able to get up to the inside of Cocker off for the restart, because we've seen that a couple of times tonight. That didn't happen, and while Peterson did clear the 69, Cocker had a great run at a turn number 2 and was looking to the inside on crossing up Peterson when the caution flag came out. So the car has just not fallen in his favor the last couple of laps.
This track really makes it so that you can have those opportunities to cross over and get big runs or defend your position like you're on a road course, to stay on the inside or to really go wide and power off these corners. So definitely, I saw that too. Was 69 definitely had an opportunity and just kind of flew at the wrong time. But I also want to give a shout out to the 24 of Sean Cool, who was actually a lap down at one point in this race. He's now on the lead lap. He's in 3rd position in a great spot, and you said his name briefly, but he might be a factor here. He started in the 12th position, had an all right qualifying effort, but he's on the lead lap, and so is everyone else who's on the track. Every single driver on the track is now on the lead lap fighting for a position.
Yeah, we've seen Rory Blum go to the garage and Michael Powell. They're 18th and 19th. The only driver off of the lead lap that's still technically in this race is Robbie Bundin, but that car is parked on the pit lane and he is not behind the wheel. So while it has not officially been retired from this race, he does still have an opportunity to get back out there if he would really like to. So there's 16 drivers left, and all 16 of them are going to be doubled up 8 rows deep for the restart. This one going to come with 108 laps to be completed, 42 laps to go, and you have to think that something is coming with here with Peterson and Cucker. I just don't see that 23 running away with this one. Cucker's got every single reason, I think, to not let that 23 go. Again, their regular season battle carrying on into tonight. No Cat Cool and Finn behind if something happens up in front of them. Green flag flies in the 23. Fantastic jump and a good start on the inside for Sean Cool. He wants to fight for second, a little bit short.
I think Cucker did about as good as he could to try and stick with Peterson on that restart, but even that wasn't necessarily good enough. So he'll slide into second, settle immediately into the racing group, and it looks like a good chunk of the drivers in the top 5 have done just that. First side-by-side battle actually is John Lide and Alex Orions, and that's all the way back in the 8th spot. And they have really strung themselves out here at the front of the field. I think they're all just trying to chase Peterson because they know how quick he is.
Peterson was able to close in on the 69, get to him when a caution flag came out, and while he didn't pass him, he was in front at the moment of yellow. That's how that position swapped hands. So no way of knowing how much of a fight the 69 would have been able to put up, but you have to think with the 23 closing in on the 69 on our last long green flag stretch that he has the better car at the moment. So how close can the 69 remain on him? They battle sideways. That was a 24. Sean Cool spinning, caution flag as he was running third.
Oh, and I saw that coming a long while ago. Those two are fighting really hard there, and we saw a bad little hit between the 24 and the 62 2 laps ago, and then that time by, I'd say they got together. Unsure if one met the other intentionally or how that worked out, but they got really close right there at the dog leg, and that happens when you're too wide right there, and Sean Cool goes right around, and tough break for the 24 right there, but I think we saw that coming there just for a little bit there, James and Evan.
And I think it's hard to blame the 62 on that one because you got to get down into corner number 2 to be able to make that corner. It really dips down and you come back up out of that sinkhole almost when you head off to corner 3. And the 24 had gotten loosened up a little bit coming off of the corner. The 61 got into the back of him, and that 24 was chasing it up just a little bit. So as the 62 dove into the corner, that 24 wasn't necessarily committed to it. And again, another lazy spin. Could have been a lot worse, but that takes another driver from the top 5 and kicks him to the back.
There's your classic example of Hammurabi's code here in racing. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Cool got into the back of Macaulay going into turn 3, and I don't think Macaulay liked it all that much, so just managed to get into Cool ever so slightly as they came through turn 2, but it was enough to do the trick and get Sean Cool going around. So we'll see if that has any repercussions later on in the race, because I think the one thing we can take away from that is that those two drivers do not like each other and probably won't be afraid to bang some more fenders if they run side by side at any point later on in this race.
And the 62 machine is going to be hit with an end at the longest line penalty for causing that incident. So Macaulay going to come to a stop on the outside of the racetrack. So just as we had noted with an incident a little bit earlier on in this one, the two drivers who got into each other are going to have an opportunity to fight amongst each other all the way at the back of the pack. I know that the 62 machine was in no position to voluntarily help out Sean Cool. Not necessarily sure that the 62 caused that accident, but he'll be hit with the penalty and he's going to be sent to the back of the pack. So we get an opportunity to do the dance at least one more time. What happens in this exchange? Peterson and Cucker, round 3 off for the restart. Great jump on the outside. Side by side to turn 1. If the 69 can stay there to the back, he's got a shot and he'll be pinched out of room by the 23.
Fun things happening here on the restart. Looks like you've got Peterson off and away again, and AJ Hamel now has cleared all of this mess and has gone to the 3rd spot. James Finn now going underneath John Lyday. Couldn't make it happen though, so Lyday up to 4th, Finn to 5th. Scott Austin now running up to 6th. You're starting to see some of these drivers who have run mid-pack for a good chunk of this race begin to make their charge toward the front of the field. Kyle Leverall hard into the wall out of turn 3. That gives Jeremy Adams the chance to get underneath him, so Adams now goes up to the 7th position. Guys beginning to make their runs here because we're getting down to it. 30 laps to go next time by.
Al Smith Jr. at the 96, next driver in line to try to get up the inside at the 7 as well, if he can. Then you got the 25 and the 9, so Leverall, tight squeeze that time. You'll be able to maintain the running position. Hold on for the moment. 2P8, caution to flag again behind him though, 25.
Oh, wow, that was close right there in turns 2. 25 may have went up the track a little bit, corrected up the track, and almost got hit by a few drivers. It was a good save, but right in front of traffic, these drivers maneuvered right under him out of turn number 2 through the dog leg, and wow, that was very impressive. The 20 recognized what was going on, and then those 3 drivers behind him as well, as we have another caution on the night.
And I was expecting him to spin down the racetrack, so the fact that Sean Cool was up on the wheel enough to notice that when he hit the brakes, that car snapped back up the hill and just squeaked by on the inside. Sean Cool, Mikey Iannarelli, and James McIntyre Jr. avoiding what could have been ugly.
Impressive moves by then, but just, I think, unfortunate luck in a racing incident in that case. Marinac got on the apron and had to run a little bit higher up the track than he would have liked on corner exit, and he just got into the side of Alex Orions, and that just set that car's front end a little bit looser than you need and sent him around. But again, an incredible job by everybody back there to avoid hitting Marinac, because he was dead center of the track on corner entry in turn 2. It would have been easy to hit him, so I think it says something about the talent level both in the CEA and the Upstate Racing League that they didn't hit him.
But now we have to consider, as we check things up again off of another short run, that inside of 30 laps to go, these yellows are going to be taking a good bulk out of what's left in this race. 5 laps here, 5 laps there. That's a good chunk of the 27 laps that are still left in this thing. So for Matt Cocker, you have to think that if there's any advantage, if it's going to be, you know, to Peterson or Cocker, that it has to be to Cocker in this, because the 23 has had some fantastic restarts, and they're going to line up side by side for the 5th time in a row, but Cocker is slowly but surely getting a little bit better at them, and the one thing that the 23 doesn't want to have to do is go through a restart every couple of laps, because that just gives the drivers around him another opportunity. Absolutely do not count AJ Hamel out of this race. Qualified mid-pack, but was first in the warm-up session, fastest driver on track before the green flag. He's up to a race-high P3. He is right there and very much a part of this battle. Green flag flies, and the 18 gets a good jump. Can he make it a battle for second? No, he'll stay P3 as they go for the race lead. Cocker looking high, can't get it.
Really slick move there from Cocker. Tried to get it done. Now comes underneath Peterson and has a nose underneath them. This might be the chance he needs. Peterson drives it in deep. Is it enough to hang on to the outside lane and go there? No, they'll go side by side into 2, and then Peterson will clear him in 3. So there goes a very good chance for Matt Cocker. Maybe wasted a little bit, or maybe not necessarily quite the run that he needed to make it happen, but Peterson back to the point. Meanwhile, John Lyday, who got caught up in one of those wrecks earlier and was at one point backwards on the front straightaway, now up to 3rd. He's gotten around AJ Hamel, and then Scott Austin has cleared James Finn, so Austin up to 5th.
And an impressive run for Lyday, considering he was only 11th fastest in warm-up and qualified way back in 15th. The stats should say that AJ Hamel should be able to get in front of him with the 3. Well-executed move on the outside off for the restart, was able to jump up into that position. That battle, though, far from over, though, as Hamel stalks him at about a half a car length off. Matt Cocker is not letting Christian Peterson get away. He got his best opportunity of the last 25 laps off of that restart. When he got back to the inside, he wasn't able to do it, but he is holding him truthful. Only about a half a car length between 1st and 2nd at the moment. Any sort of small slip up by the 23, which the 69 might force him into, based on how much pressure he's putting on him, would open up the door.
Yeah, 20 laps to go at the track this time by, and you got to think, since this isn't a points race and there's a lot of bragging rights on this race, you got to think that these two are teammates. But I think anything can happen with these two here in the closing races. They do have a lot of respect with each other. No, maybe if Peterson makes a mistake, 69 on the inside.
Oh, caution!
Oh, what a bad timing for that. Caution comes out.
Gotta be the third time tonight the cautions come out when Matt Cucker was making a move for the race lead. The accident is in quarter number 3, Stefan Marinak. It evolved in another one. He's a secondary victim, and though this all started up with the 62 of Cody McCauley, a fast car who was in 6th, a very late move to the inside of the racetrack, courtesy of James Finn in the 61. 62 comes down across the nose and lost it.
Really, really big, deep drive there into the corner for that 61 machine of James Finn, and just clipped the rear end there of McCauley. So, you know, just a little bit of a racing incident, I think, more than anything else, which we're seeing a lot of here as we get down to the end. But boy, was that ever so unlucky for Cucker, because Peterson legitimately made a huge mistake. He overdrove turn 3 there right before the yellow and opened up the inside for Cucker to get a run. Had we stayed green, that would have been a side-by-side battle for the lead. But here we are again. We get a yellow flag, and Cucker has to regroup and try and get a good run off the outside one more time.
On that replay, also saw Alex Oriens take a pretty big hit into the outside fence, but you're exactly right. It was a point that I raised with Christian Peterson when we chatted with him after his super late model win earlier tonight. Things have just been going right for him, and you got to figure at some point things just aren't going to work out for you. Well, for Matt Cucker, it has been a night full of that. That's the third time that he's made a move for the race lead, and a caution flag has come out right at that moment. So the 69 is going to have another opportunity to line up with the 23, but I'm not sure Christian Peterson's the guy that you can force multiple mistakes at like that last one, because that 23 opening up the inside like that was very uncharacteristic, and Cucker had great positioning.
Yeah, I was going to say, not many times are you going to witness the 23 have a mistake out of your windshield and you actually have an opportunity to do it. Cucker was right there, had the moment, seized the positioning, and just bad luck for the 69. But do want to mention that the 69 did say over radio that he might get a little different with his approach on getting around the 23. So bumper may come into play here, guys.
Well, they are teammates, but you have to think that Matt Cucker is tired of hearing us talking about Christian Peterson this and Christian Peterson that. So we will see what happens in what may be due up to be the final restart on the night. Inside of 15 laps to go means that even if we do see a caution and another restart, there's not much more than maybe 2 restarts max left in this thing.
Because we're getting down to it. Before you know it, we're going to be on lap 140, and we're going to have 10 laps to go. And at that point, you know, you're talking pennies for laps, I think, more than anything else. They'll go by so quick, and we talk about our 5-lap window, the Pasoko patented point of no return, after which point we will not get a restart and go yellow all the way to the checkered flag. Have to worry about that, too.
You know, we're only 7 laps away from knocking on that as well. So pace car going to drop down and in. Going to be 13 laps to go in this race from Concord. Is it the final time? Peterson and Cucker, they're leaning on each other at a quarter number 3. Green flag flies and we go back underway. Good jump amongst the top 4. The 69 is there, side by side for the race lead. Half a car length down the back. Now they draw even. Dead heat to quarter number 3 as Cucker looks to execute for the race lead.
Oh, they're neck and neck here in the front straightaway, and he got him that time by 26/100ths of a second, and he still got him. Look at them right next to each other, going through the dog leg. That got smoke in front of them, but they don't care. They're going to get 11 laps to go when they cross the stripe, and Cucker, he's got the advantage on the outside line where he got it the first time.
What a move by Matt Cucker on the outside. Peterson not giving up, drives it to the quarter panel. He backed out of that one. It could have been bad as still. They drive through the smoke on the back straightaway, smoking in front of them. James McIntyre Jr. going to safely make it to pit road. So Matt Cucker takes the race lead at 10 laps to go. Hamill was able to get back around John Lade. He is up to 3rd. Who makes the move first, if anybody?
That's the key here. Hamill's back in this. It's not just Cucker and Peterson's race anymore, and those two running side by side will just bring Hamill right back into this. Watching the lines between the three, the one thing I noticed is that Hamill is really driving into the corners on entry very, very deep and letting the car swing wide out on corner exit. I wonder if he gets close enough to Cucker and Peterson, who are backing up their corners a little bit more in comparison. Will that make things interesting? Could there be contact that's made there? I think these are all things that we have to watch in addition to the obvious battle at the front.
Hamill losing a little bit of touch with the guys up front. The gap between first and third grows to 0.8 of a second. Hamill, I think, needs to be more concerned as he falls now a second back with a challenge out at the rear end from John Lyde. But if something is to happen amongst the drivers in first and second position, you got to be up on your toes and sitting and waiting in third. That point of no return, 1 lap away. 5 laps to go this time by Cucker, looking to get to it.
And Cucker is actually getting a little bit of space between himself and the 23, and you can tell that Christian Peterson's trying really hard because he's smoking that front tire right there. The left front was smoking right there into turns number 3, and you see him making a completely different approach. He's basically searching at this point, trying to get something different. P3 is getting pretty interesting too with Hamill and Lyde as we have less than 5 laps to go.
And that's the biggest challenge right now if you're Christian Peterson, Pike, is to not overdrive that car. He's right there. You want to give it a little bit more, but you do yourself no good if you overdrive the car.
And he's done that before in the Cars eSport Tour. You remember New Smyrna, where he had the lead and overdrove the corner exit and wrecked himself late in the race. Might be falling victim to it again. He might have burned off the tires because Cucker's running away with it as we get 3 laps to go here coming through turn 2. This may well be Matt Cucker's race to win if he can just complete these next few laps.
That'll do it. 2 laps to go this time by. The caution flag is going to come out well within that 5-lap go or go home window. And Matt Cucker is going to pace through the final mile of this race. The caution comes out late. And guys, for the first time tonight, it comes out and helps him. He had gone through so much tonight. And on that final restart, was able to stay green long enough to get in front of Christian Peterson. And quite frankly, a well-timed caution. If you're rooting for the 69 camp this time, as opposed to, as they had seemingly been doing all night long, preventing him from battling for the race lead, that caution means that Christian Peterson does not get the final 2 laps of this race to fight against the 69 machine. And Matt Cucker had to scrap for this one. Not going to come flying across the start-finish line. He'll do it behind the pace car at about 40 miles an hour, but a checkered flag is a checkered flag. And the 69 of Matt Cucker is going to come off for the final corner. He's going to take the checkered flag in tonight's late model stock feature, and he wins the Border War 250 at the Concord Speedway.
Yeah, big win for the 69, and especially through having multiple opportunities get taken away as a matter of circumstance for himself. And you know, he still has a teammate right behind him, and I know they're on the radio to each other, talking to each other about what's going on. So even if there was to be a battle, I'm sure they would have had a lot of fun, knowing that points weren't exactly on the line here tonight. But Matt Cucker does get to celebrate here for this race, and he's going to burn it down right in front of us.
And while it's not going to count for points, Matt Cucker also breaks a tie with Christian Peterson for the most late model stock wins in 2017. This, his 3rd win on the season, puts him in front of Christian Peterson, who was sitting with 2. So a little bit of friendly rivalry amongst team cars in tonight's race, and a well-fought-out battle. The best part about it is if we didn't tell everybody that these guys were teammates, Pike, I'm sure people would have believed that they had a season-long rivalry and they hated each other. But the key thing was they were able to fight so close with one another, get tight, to have 5, 6 late race restarts, but it stayed clean, and they allowed each other to race it out, and that was the best part about that finish.
I think it's only now that you see them doing the twin burnouts in the front straightaway, if you haven't seen these guys race in the Cars eSport Tour this season, that you realize that this isn't really a Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton type dynamic where you've got the 2 best drivers that really just aren't necessarily buddies on the same team. No, these guys are really, really tight, close friends, but also fierce competitors on the racetrack. And I've got to believe that even though this is a non-points event, This has to be big for Cucker. I believe, if my math is right, that's the first win that he's picked up since he started consistently practicing with Christian Peterson. And you just wonder, now that the floodgates have opened, what does that do for the rest of the races in the Cars eSport Tour season, especially as we get ready to head to Five Flags Speedway down in Pensacola at the end of the month?
And more context in this, the late model stocks and the super late models, we talk a lot about just how different are they. Well, Christian Peterson won the super late model race earlier tonight. He is the super late model points series leader. And for Matt Cucker getting the win in the late model stocks tonight, he is the late model stock points leader. So it seems that they each have their own racecraft tuned up, and they've got things figured out while also being able to be competitive in both series. Both drivers are top 3 in each of the Cars eSport Series events. But Matt Cucker, Christian Peterson, top 2, the championship eSports guys representing in the Border War 250. AJ Hamill getting a solid result to bring tonight's race home in 3rd for the Upstate Racing guys. And we'll take an opportunity to step aside from Concord. When we come back, though, we'll head trackside. We'll talk with some of those names aforementioned, and we'll also get you hyped up for the final 5 weeks to come in this championship. You're watching the Championship Esports Association's 2017 Cars eSport Tour on LSRTV and iRacing Live post-race, still to come tonight for the Concord Speedway. The NASCAR Peak Jennifer Series, powered by iRacing, is the premier NASCAR eSports series featuring the cars and tracks from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. The 2016 campaign saw a return to the top of the mountain by Ray Alfalla as a 3-time NASCAR World Champion. The march to that championship was not easy, though, despite the fact that Ray Alfalla took home the most points in series history. It just also happened to be the tightest championship fight we had ever seen. These guys are set for the 2017 campaign, and as it has been for the 7 years prior, it is no longer going to be a straight shot to the championship. We are going to see the biggest change in this championship picture in series history, as for the first time ever, there will be a chase for the championship. We're going to go into the Homestead of Miami Speedway at the end of the season with the 4 best oval sim racing drivers in the world absolutely tied in the championship. You just got to beat the other 3 guys out and you will become an official NASCAR champion. You're going to get yourself a NASCAR championship ring and, of course, $10,000. These are the iRacing eSport World Championships, the pinnacle of sim racing competition. You can catch it all season long, live coverage on iRacing.com/live. Back live from the Concord Speedway, Matt Cucker is your winner in tonight's late model stock feature, the Border War 250. First off, do want to again give a big thanks to the guys here at the Championship Esports Association and the Cars eSport Tour for putting on a good show tonight and inviting our friends at the Upstate Racing League in for a little bit of friendly contest. Hopefully we'll get an opportunity to talk with a couple of drivers from both sides of the aisle in just a moment as we welcome you into our late model stock post-race show from Concord. Before we do, let's take one more opportunity, let you know where everybody wrapped up tonight as we look top to bottom in our LSRTV full race results. Matt Cucker gets the win, his 3rd on the season, barely hanging on over top of Christian Peterson, passed up that 23 on a late race restart. I guess 7th time or so was the charm, as he's able to get home in a solid spot. AJ Hamill rounds out the podium in 3rd tonight. We'll be chatting with the top 3 in just a moment. John Lade with a good result comes home 4th. Jeremy Adams rounds out our top 5.
Cody McCauley brought it home 6th when it was all said and done. Stefan Marinac finished 7th with that flash, number 25. Sean Cool raced up just about in every part of this field, I think, at some point during this race, and finishes towards the middle in 8th at the end of 150 laps. Al Smith Jr. was up there in the top 5, top 10 all night and gets a 9th place out of it. And then Mike Iannarelli comes home to round out your top 10, finishing in 10th.
In the 11th position finishes Kyle Leverott, last car on the lead lap. Justin McDuff finishes 1 lap down with Scott Austin and James Finn, all 1 lap down in the last car on the field. Actually, he was in the pits and ready to go home. That was James McIntyre Jr. in finishing 15th.
And the rest of these drivers here on out also, you're talking double-digit laps down and out of this thing. But for record's sake, 16th position for Alex Orion. 17th is Robbie Bunded. 18th for Rory Blum and Michael Powell. Shotgun on the field. Comes home in 19th. At a 19, that's a look top to bottom at your LSRTV Bowl race results. So Matt Cucker gets the checkered flag tonight. He is your winner at a late model stocks. We're trackside with the driver of the number 69. Matt, congratulations. It seemed like some sort of force was working against you. You'd get to the inside of the 23, and I think at least twice, if not 3 times, a caution flag would then come out. One last restart, one last opportunity. You didn't pass it up. You get the lead off for that final one and hang on. Talk us about it.
Yeah, I mean, all night long, like earlier on in the race, I was just saving my tires, and I know CP was out there running hard, and I was hoping for a yellow, and we finally got it, and I knew my tires were a little bit better than his, and once he got by me on the one restart, I was just taking it easy, and he got underneath me, and then the yellow came out, and I was sitting second again, and every time I'd freaking get underneath him, every time there'd be a yellow, and then right before that final restart where I did get him, I said to him, well, I'm trying to race you clean, but we keep getting yellows. I guess I'm going to have to use the bumper. And then I got him on the restart on the outside. And he knew what was expected, and I thought he was going to give me the bumper. I just don't think he can get to me quick enough. But, I mean, we raced side by side and didn't touch. It was awesome. I couldn't ask for a better person to race against or better person to have on my team.
And that's something that we noted, that you guys were able to have that many restarts. It raced close, but also it didn't have to come to the bumper and fisticuffs at the end. It's able to be, a good but clean fight for the race lead in this thing. Although that you're not going to be able to score points for this one, it does add to the late model stock points that you guys have been putting up. Christian continues with the success in the super lates with his 5th consecutive win over there, which adds to his championship lead. You're not going to gain anything in the points added tonight on this side of things, although I guess a positive could also be you're not going to lose any. You now have the most wins, though, out of anybody in the late model stock. So you're both up inside of the top 3 in points in each of the series. You, though, leading this one and having success maybe in these cars a little bit more than the super lates?
Oh, yeah. I mean, these cars are more about, like, momentum, keeping your momentum the whole time, and the super lates are about saving that right rear, and I'm more of a momentum guy. I like to keep my car rolling. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's got the championship locked up. I don't think I can make up that many points on him. But, I mean, if he would finish last the next couple of races in a super late, then maybe I could. But I don't see it happening. So, I mean, we're just going to sit here and try to fight Jeremy for second in the super lates. But this one, I mean, it's looking pretty decent for me.
Past the halfway point on the season, we start to count things down next time out. Going to be back to our regular format where the late model stocks will open up tonight, and points are going to be on the line once again as we head to Five Flags Speedway for the 8th round on the season. That a racetrack that you guys can continue to find success at?
I believe so. I mean, this team in short tracks, we're pretty dominant. I wouldn't say we're the best out there, but I mean, we're up there. And we will put a challenge out. And when we all race together, I mean, it's no better racing. I don't know where else you would find better racing than right here.
Well, it was a thrilling night tonight, and we really enjoyed having the little bit of extra festivities with the Upset Racing guys coming in. They started off good, and in fact were represented early as McDuff was out there leading the early laps, but you and the CEA guys came up late, and you're able to get first and second tonight, Matt. So we'll let you get out of here. I know it's been a long night of action. Before we do, sponsors and shout-outs, all those good folks who makes it happen.
I got to thank Team Vincier, everybody over there. Globalcom, iAnalyze, Kamikaze Webworks. I mean, it's been a blast with them on the car all year, and hopefully we can keep it going.
That is your late model winner tonight from Concord, Matt Conkerback. Congratulations on the win, sir. 3rd on the season, and best of luck not only in these but on the super lates as well. You and Christian have been putting on a show for us, and we appreciate that, and we expect nonetheless in the next 5 weeks, so I'm sure we'll chat soon.
We'll be there. Thank you.
So Kuiper gets the job done, the driver on the other end of that very spirited late race battle. And this one is Christian Peterson. Got a first on the 9 and got a second. So not a bad outing, James. I'm sure he would have liked to be able to take home the checkered flag at both. He had it until one last restart. Still a good result, though, for the driver of the 23.
A solid result for Christian Peterson here in the Border War 250, though definitely not the one he would have wanted to come away with. But I want to start a little bit earlier on in this race when you came down after being really, really strong in the middle portion of this race, and you got the fuel, and you went ahead and you short pitted a little bit. Talk us through that sort of strategy decision just to start off things here.
Yeah, I think I pitted a lap late. Because Cucker and Jeremy, they had let me know that we had to take fuel, that we were short on fuel from the beginning, so I knew that we were going to have to, and I don't know, we had such a long green flag run there that it kind of left my mind that we had to take fuel at one point, so I actually missed it the first time by when they pitted, and they said something, and I was like, screw it, I'll go down this next time, and just in case we get another long green flag run and we have to pit right at the end of the race or something. So I didn't want to be back there at the end. So I pitted then, and I figured I'd just try to follow those two through. And the top seemed to be really good, like it was in the super race, like through turns 1 and 2 on down the backstretch, and I just kind of put the car where it wanted to go, where other people weren't, and it kind of went where it wanted to. But I think I just needed save a little bit more tire there at the beginning of the race to hold off Cucker. But I just got to congrats to him, man. He's been working hard trying to get me, and he did it. And it's just going to fuel the fire for the next couple weeks.
So you come down pit road, you get fuel, and then all of a sudden, right off the restart, they start wrecking right in front of you. I have to imagine that your heart was in your throat there for a few moments just trying to needle it through. But as you snuck through that wreck, first, how'd you get through it? And second, what was going through your mind afterwards?
Well, everybody did a good job behind me as slowing down, which was my main concern. I mean, I saw the guy spinning, and I knew my best bet was just to slow down and kind of go towards him, because I knew he would slide up the track, and a hole would open in the middle, and it did. And I was lucky enough that everybody on the top seemed to slow down too, and they didn't run into the back of me. And after that, I think I gained like 2 or 3 spots from that, and was still right behind my teammates. So same strategy, just kind of follow them through, and try to not burn off the right front. But that's what we did, and Cucker didn't, and we got to get him next week.
You said earlier that you felt like it was in the beginning of the race that you might have run a little bit too hard and that the rubber that you needed to get around Matt might have been lost there. Is it a gradual case where you lost the rubber, especially over the course of the back half of this race? Or is there any sort of decision that you made or moment that you can pinpoint where you can say, this is where the tires really went away and I lost the ability to really drive and go after Cucker the way that I wanted to?
I mean, I could still go after him. I'm not trying to make any excuses here. I mean, he did what he had to do, and he got me on the restart, and I couldn't do anything about it. If I wanted to hit him, I could have done that, but that's not what I wanted to do. So, but I'd say right at the beginning, yeah, like that first long run we had, I think the 20 car of what was his name, Justin
McDuff.
McDuff. He pulled away at the beginning, and I was just trying to keep pace with Cody. And then we ended up catching him, and I was like, all right, we'll just kind of cruise at this speed for a while. We got the yellow, and then I started pushing a little bit harder. But I wouldn't say there was one point. I just think if I just ran a little bit easier at the beginning and not tried to keep up with them as much as I did.
We'll come back here to Concord Speedway at the end of August. Is there anything that you take away from this race into the late model stock race for that night? I know that the distance is a little bit longer in this race than it'll be in that one, but anything of note that you'll bring to you when we come back here next month?
Just the line, for the most part. I mean, I saw what happened in turn 1. Like, I thought I was saving a little bit of tire by the line I was using. I thought it was going to burn off a little bit more right rear than my right front, just because I felt like I had more of an angle, like going through turns of the dog leg. But that's really the biggest thing. I think because I think the next time we're going to come back here in this car, it'll be open setup, so we'll be able to tweak it to our driving style and all that. So it should be good. Seems like everybody, I mean, we had a good long green flag run at the beginning, so it seems like everybody kind of gets the track. So hopefully we can do it at the end there next week or next time we come back.
Almost done here, but before we let you go, as is our custom here on LSRTV, go ahead, give your shout-outs, let the people know who makes it happen and who deserves thanks for making this 23 car so quick.
Just everybody at Vincier, Matt, Jeremy, John, Seth, Brad, everybody over there. Got to thank Kyle for putting on the show every other week here. It's been a lot of fun with all these different kind of events going on here with the mixed league and East versus West event that we had, and looking forward to the next event we do, and just thanks to you guys in the booth.
And that next event here in the Cars eSport Tour will be at Five Flags Speedway rather, in Pensacola. So we'll look forward to seeing you down there, CP. But thanks for the time. We'll talk to you here in a bit.
All right, thanks, man.
So we'll take off and let CP go run off and do his thing. And we'll give the microphone over to Austin Coop, who is standing by with the third place finisher, AJ Hamel, 18.
Representing the Upstate Racing League is AJ Hamel, so he brought the charge for a podium finish of third place. We saw you all over the place, through the back of the pack, through the front of the pack, but in the end you prevailed, got yourself to the front. How does it feel with this border war? Kind of for you guys, it came maybe as a surprise to be invited here, but once you got here, how was the feeling to race with these championship eSport guys as they have every other Wednesday?
It was a lot of fun. We knew it, like upstate guys are on vacation, so to speak. A lot of our big guns, they take the summer off. So we knew I call us the second tier, except for Marinac, got to carry the flag for us tonight. So I'm pretty proud to snag a third. I was up. I'd lose on a restart. I'd gain on a spin. I'd gain on it. It's just an up and down night, and really happy to end up here.
There's a lot that can really go on at Concord. It's not an easy place to really tame, but getting it towards the top three definitely was no easy feat. Now, you said you had a lot of run-ins with getting close to an accident, maybe getting into somebody. Just talk about the handling, about how these late models go at these track, and how it was throughout battling through this field with the tire wear that got really matted down the track.
Yeah, once that first run, the tire wear was a bigger effect, and I think it was more the hot track with the rubber getting laid down, and it started to get a little free on entry if you weren't careful. I never had to pace myself because I was often, what the nice way to say it, I was unable to pass a car that was slower at the time, and you really had to easy on the throttle. On exit, started to get loose, but once the yellows hit, the tires cooled down, and you didn't really notice. I mean, the lap times were slower, but it didn't really change the handle that much.
Now, going behind the 69 and 23, I'm not sure if you've kept up with the Championship Esport Associations week in, week out between these two in front of you, but you're basically chasing the two top competitors in this entire both the late models and the super late models. Those two have been on top this entire time, and being behind them, I won't say that you learn anything, because you race yourself in the Upstate Racing League and you do a very fine job yourself, but being behind these guys and them being so dominant in their series, is there anything that you took away from tonight?
Yeah, a little bit. I knew these guys were the top guys, and I knew Adams was strong. A couple of them have raced with us in a race earlier this year in our approval series, and I've seen Chris's name all over the website. And one thing that really woke me up was I think I had a restart in third or fifth or one of the inside positions, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get the guy in fourth or whoever's in the front row ahead of me, and then Cucker just flies by on the outside. I'm like, oh, all right. So I guess I need to be a little stronger on the restarts up on the wheel. These guys they're ready to go. They can do it. They're strong on these restarts, and they can do it without causing an issue, which is impressive. I mean, I race with similar guys. You've seen us with the Fullers and the Odos and whatnot, and those guys can get around too. So similar talent level, and I always seem to be just behind them, chasing them.
Well, definitely a great effort for third place here tonight. Before we let you go, you know how it goes. It may have been a while, but who makes it happen for you on that 18 machine?
Oh, I got a long list for you. First, we got to thank Al Smith and Kyle Barnes for putting this together, and I think you guys had a piece of that. And who else we got on the car? We got the new season-long sponsor, CKF Construction, also going to be the title sponsor for the Upstate Racing League. Arts Barbershop, Eddie's Meat Market, onpitroad.com, Allied Financial, Atomic Signworks, Core Life Eatery, Loco Toco Designs, and Upstate Simworks. I want to throw shout out to the Upstate Racing League members who made the journey to Concord tonight. Start with Justin McDuff, his first, let's call it a career pole in a league, and 38 laps led. He's pretty excited about that. Upgraded his brakes, and it seems to be working out. Al Smith, Sean Cool, Alex Orions, Jim McIntyre, and Stefan Marinak. Unfortunately, a few of our other top-level guys had to pull out. And if I could just say one more thing, if you're still watching, the Upstate Racing League's Fall Approval Series signups are going to open on Friday. That series starts the first Thursday in August. That's where if you're new to the league, come run 7 races with us and show us what you got, and get approved to run in our fall series right here on LSR.
Well, there you have it. Number 18 machine, AJ Hamill, finishes in the 3rd spot, representing the Upstate Racing League. We're going to throw it to the booth with Evan, and we'll talk to a few other people while we've got them tonight.
Yeah, a big part of obviously making this possible is by bringing the 2 series together for tonight's Border War 250. So I'm going to grab a quick word with Al Smith from the Upstate Racing League. Al, it's good to see you guys again. And you guys gave them a run for their money early in this thing. Came into their home turf here, and you on the front row there with Justin. AJ comes home 3rd, represented well, but it was most definitely fun to see you guys out for this event, and it looked like a fun one.
It definitely was, and I got to really thank Kyle here and the whole Car Z Tour for inviting us to come be a part of this Border Wars deal. It was a lot of fun. I tell you, I didn't expect us to sweep the front row, and I think I got a little bit cocky. If you guys follow us on the Facebook page, I said the battle number 1 was won, but apparently we lost the war tonight, so we'll have to reschedule a rematch.
Well, I know that if you guys are thinking about it, we are going to have no objections to that. But it was interesting because we got to see. Obviously, we started off the night with the super late models, which typically ends the night, and then I found it very interesting how we had a dynamic going on where the 2 drivers who are battling for the championship in this series on a regular week, we're going head to head with AJ there late, who had the best time in the warm-up session. And I think that it was a fun event overall, and the mixture of the rules package, if you will, for tonight's event, I think was good as well. The fixed setup, which you guys are more used to, but then as well having no tires available, which oftentimes you guys do give the drivers that option to. So a little bit of an adjustment period was needed for, I think, both groups to figure this one out.
Yeah, I think we did a really good job, and I think Kyle can agree with that. We really came into this with a lot of, we've had Matt, the winner, he did a good job, and Christian and Jeremy Adams. We had a few guys that have ran a couple of races with us, so we were familiar with some of them, but there's that getting to know the tendencies of new drivers. So when you come into really a house that we don't really go to. We don't run Concord at the Upstate Racing League, so kind of a disadvantage there, but with the fixed setup, maybe an advantage because we kind of are used to how the cars handle and whatnot. But it definitely was a good time, and it was a lot of fun, and I think we put on a pretty good show here tonight.
We say it time in and time again how much we love to get short track action on LSRTV, and that's why we were so happy when the CEA guys came to us with the Cars eSport Tour for this season, and I know that they've got a lot of stuff that's going to be running through 2018 as well. But for maybe those who have been tuned in with us the last couple of weeks on Wednesday nights that aren't necessarily familiar with you and your gang over at Upstate, you guys have been with us for quite some time, and we couldn't be more excited to have you guys coming back as well a little bit later on. If somebody maybe wants to get involved in that, tell them a little bit about the league and maybe how that would work in case they're interested.
Yeah, it's actually a perfect timing. We've got a lot of stuff going on, and hopefully Kyle and his gang will come on over and help support us. But a couple weeks, we're going to start our approval series as we get ready to go for our Pro Series, which is right here on LSRTV. And, you know, Friday sign-ups for that start, so head on over to upstateracingleague.com. We got a lot of exciting stuff for you guys to talk about on the broadcast this year. We got a new title sponsor with CKF Construction, and it's we got a lot of stuff going on. We started our Dirt League, which hopefully we'll get on LSR here pretty soon.
So that is Al Smith from the Upstate Racing League. Al, always a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks for agreeing to be a part of this. It was fun for us, and it's always great seeing familiar faces here. So thanks for hanging out on Wednesday nights, and I know that we will most definitely see you and the rest of the guys down the road, but thanks for spending the evening with us.
Thanks for having me, guys. Have a great night.
So the Upstate Racing League, a big part of the border war on the other end of that, and coincidentally, I guess the team that wins the war in the end is the Championship Esports guys, with Cocker getting the W and Peterson coming home in the number 2 position, James. And the whole reason why Al and their whole gang is here is because of Kyle putting this thing together. So you're down trackside with Kyle Barnes from the admin team at CEA.
A one-man do-it-all machine, I think, although it's definitely not just him at the Championship Esports Association, but Kyle Barnes, a big player here in making things happen for the Cars eSport Tour and throughout the CEA. First, Kyle, just talk a little bit about how this event came together and how you and Upstate got together to put this whole show on for us tonight.
Well, it was actually a big thanks to Francisco from LSRTV. He kind of introduced me and Al to each other through Facebook. And me and Al just immediately hit it off and decided that we was going to do an event together, and came up with this idea. It gives them an opportunity to talk about the upcoming series that they're going to have on Thursday nights here on LSRTV, while also giving our guys kind of like a mid-season break to where they don't really have to worry about points. And it's a fun event. I think the rules package, like Al was saying earlier, and Evan, I mean, it was spot on to where it needed to be. You know, with the fixed setup from URL and the no tires from CEA, it definitely made it interesting there at the end.
Yeah, from up in the tower, how did you take in everything tonight? What'd you see? What'd you like? And how do you feel like this whole event went over? And how proud are you of your guys, I guess, taking home the Border War trophy here?
I'm extremely proud of them, but I think I'm more proud of just everybody as a whole, just coming together and running this with respect. I know we had a few accidents. There was a few mess-ups to where it could have been prevented. You know, it was one of those deals where we had a couple incidents with some lap cars, but it's racing. It's going to happen. Otherwise, these guys raced with respect and gave each other plenty of room, but also raced hard. You know, there was a lot of beating and banging out there, and to come together in such short notice I think we only started working on this 2 or 3 weeks ago, and actually put an event of this caliber on, I think it says a lot about CEA and URL as a whole, to where we can coexist and help each other out, and really just make a great event here on LSRTV.
Now, for maybe our regular fans of the Upstate Racing League here on LSRTV that haven't seen a lot of the Cars eSport Tour and what you all do at CEA, or folks who are just checking in because they heard about great short track racing in the sim, here's your chance. Go ahead and tell everybody about what CEA does and what you all are up to, and if you want to get involved with some of the events in the Championship Esports Association, what can you do?
If you want to get involved with the Championship Esports Association, you can head over to our website, championshipesports.com. Actually, coming up in August, we have a series that'll be broadcast here on LSRTV that'll be Partnered with Myrtle Beach Speedway in real life. We will be partnering with them and actually hosting a weekly type series, which I think is the first ever time it's been broadcast on LSRTV, with numerous divisions. If people want to get in on that, it's a very low entry fee, very low cost for each division. As well, we partnered with the Cars Tour. We bring the Real Life Cars Tour series each and every Wednesday night that you guys have seen. We're on round 7, but if people want to join, there's a $60 bounty on Vincier Racing and 6-man, $5 a race. They can try and come win $80. So I think that's a pretty good deal. And then, of course, we do some dirt racing as well. So if they want to come out and race with us, just go over to championshipesports.com and we'll get them signed up.
A busy group at CEA with the Cars eSport Tour and the Myrtle Beach Speedway Simulation Series coming up here next month on LSRTV. I know we here in the broadcast team are excited about that one as well. Before we let you go, we'll give you a moment here to send your shout-outs, your thank yous to everybody that deserves it. Who do you need to thank for making this whole night possible?
I guess first off, Cisco for helping out, getting me and Al together. Of course, Al's been a great partner, helping coordinate his guys and helping me just get everybody straight. And then, of course, all the drivers and viewers, because without them, the show wouldn't have been possible.
Well, thanks a bunch for all the time, Kyle, for all the work you put in to set this up. I know we in the booth thoroughly enjoyed the show and looking forward to seeing it get back going in 2 weeks down in Pensacola.
Thank you.
So I guess that just about wraps things up here from Concord Speedway, and we head down to Five Flags Speedway next up on July 26th for the next event in the Cars eSport Tour. You'll know that Best in Real Life is home of the Snowball Derby, which celebrates its 50th anniversary in November. And though usually it's the folks at Speed51.com that own the coverage down there, we at LSRTV are going to have your coverage of all the Cars eSport Tour action from Five Flags on the 26th. It should be a fun little racetrack because if any of the real-life highlights are any indication of it, it should be a lot of fun to watch everybody go around there.
The thing is, there's been a lot of short tracks coming to iRacing recently, and I think that far and above them all, Five Flags has to be my favorite. And the context as we kind of focus back in on this Cars the eSport Tour is that we're getting down the crunch time. Touched on it earlier on, but we've been to New Smyrna, we've been to Las Vegas, to Thompson, to Bristol, Kentucky, Martinsville, and Concord, and there's only 5 weeks left. And while Christian Peterson has got things rolling in the super lates, and Matt Kunker keeping things rolling here in the late model stocks, both of those drivers leading their respective series, is that there's not a lot of time left, but a lot can happen in that same window. So it's a catch-22, if you will, and these championships are far from being decided. And we hope that maybe if you just happen to jump in with us this Wednesday night for the first time, that you will join us for the rest of that championship. Five Flags, Lanier, Concord, one track still to officially be named, and then South Boston coming up later on in the year to wrap this championship up every other Wednesday right here on LSRTV. So until that next time comes around, that'll do things for us here tonight from Midland, North Carolina. On behalf of the entire team at LSRTV, for the folks behind the scenes, for DJ Lion and everybody who's up at a booth week in and week out, and for the crew tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, as well for James Pike, Austin Coop, and Cisco Scaramucci. I want to thank you for joining in and remind you to keep up to date with us on social media. Twitter, that's at LSRTV, and on Facebook, that's facebook.com/LSRTV official. To not miss anything, you can find a full extended broadcast schedule on our website at www.livesimracing.com. Congratulations to your race winners tonight, Christian Peterson and Matt Kunker. They will lead the championships into round number 8 of the Cars eSport Tour. That continues all season long right here on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. We'll catch you next time.